From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your hosts, Carrie and Brian Smith.
That part always gets me at the end. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the live, late-breaking updates of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where the media loves to hide the tidbits of information, all the crumbs that Nancy Pelosi says are unimportant are so critically important. We are here to give you all the facts and expose the fake news, expose the deep state, tell you about the Uniparty, what they're doing, what they're attempting to do. And
are you quiet on your end?
As Bill Steele says, I am quiet on my end.
I don't know if you need to jack it up a little bit. Don't mean to blow your ears out here, folks, but I just want to make sure the audio is appropriate for the show.
As Bill Steele says, still reporting on the coup. I know Carrie don't like that, but that's okay.
I don't want to steal somebody else's shtick.
I don't want to steal the shtick either, but it's true. It's true. So, folks, if this is the first time you've been on the show, you listen to the show, welcome aboard. This is Smith Radio, military veteran talk radio. Back in the 90s, I was in the Air Force. This is my cousin Carrie. Back in the 90s, he was in the Marine Corps.
1890s.
Jeez, the city we live in is 200 years old.
I'm having a good week because some young whippersnapper.
Yeah.
We were just talking, and I told him, I'm 42 years old. And he was like, wow. I thought you were 29.
Shut the phone.
He said he thought I was 29. I was
Shut
like,
the front door.
Nailed it.
Oh, my goodness.
Nailed it.
Knock it out. Wow.
I almost Facebooked that.
I probably would have too. Before the beard, I was getting Gen X. If you listen to my scopes, you know Gen X. He's part lib, part baby boomer, part millennial.
He's become a character in your scope. He's like
It's a caricature of him.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far.
Hugging trees and stuff. Anyways, he's 39, and before the beard, he's like, yeah, when you get to be my age.
He said that?
Yeah.
Did he not know that you were...
I had no idea.
He thought he was older than you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
wow. Well, if you look at him, he looks older than that. Anyways, folks, good time.
And if he's listening, we mean that in a good way.
If you're listening, stay tuned. There's a lot of great information, factual information that you'll need to know when you get back to the water cooler tomorrow morning. Anyways, folks, again, share this scope. Share it with your friends, your family. Share it on Facebook,
and somebody
Twitter.
just said need more volume. You might want to jack that a little bit more. I don't know, just give it.
How about now?
I'm
in the red.
Oh my gosh. Well,
there
goes
now?
your speakers. Say bye-bye to your speakers. We will not write a check for all of you that have blown speakers right now, but
just like the NRA not being responsible for all the gun deaths from idiots out there.
Oh, well, we're not calling anybody idiots.
Well, no, if you go around shooting people up, yeah, got problems.
Yes, that's
anyway.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we got Tim Kaine. We got some clips on him today saying some really ridiculous things about the NRA, about Donald Trump.
Everything.
We got a loaded show. We're going to go through the list, folks. There's all kinds of stuff. For truly, if you're following us on Facebook right now, this will not be breaking news. But if you're not, this may be breaking news to you. Donald Trump just may have fooled the entire world.
Including me?
Me too.
I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid to admit it.
However, I think both you and I were holding out, waiting to see how this played out.
Yeah, I'm not one of them reactionaries that forget every single action and decision that Donald Trump seems to have mastered 4D chess pretty well. But I totally get where the Trump skeptics come from.
Hashtag unfollow Ann Coulter.
Right. So
somebody try to get that to trend.
I'm going to still follow her, and I'm going to...
Because I got to see the stupid things she says. I got
to
get on point.
It's like following Hillary Clinton. You got to see what kind of crazy stuff she might tweet.
I got Maxine Waters on notifications.
Oh, gosh. There's a line you can't cross. You can't cross that line.
Well, after I saw those corns today... Whew, folks, please stop posting those pictures of Maxine Waters' feet on Twitter. Not cool.
I sidestepped that line.
Don't go
I didn't see that.
Don't go down the timeline.
I did not see that, so I'm pretty glad for that.
We've got more people fired, more people hired, globalists being removed from Donald Trump's administration, hiring back in nationalists, people who actually put America first. We got John Bolton. We're going to talk about him. House Intel Committee. Hey, 70-plus witnesses. Wonder if they found any Russian collusion. Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Witnesses for Russian collusion?
Yeah, they interviewed 70 different people on Russian collusion. Page 42 will shock you.
Okay, I'll take it.
On their findings.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
I know I wanted to talk about Larry Kudlow last week, and we didn't get much time to talk about that. We'll bring him up and explain to him why firing of globalist Gary Kaine and hiring of Larry Kudlow, who is he, what is it all about, and is capitalism really important to him? Also talk about the Omnibus bill, bust or bust. Either way you have it, you're going to be shocked on this
It's going to be considered a bust by a certain segment of the population.
Pretty much. March for Our Lives. Is this a grassroots uprising, Kerry?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what... I'm going to tell you, it's not good news, though. It's not good news. There's good news and bad news when it comes to what we saw in March for Our Lives this weekend, or should I say yesterday. And I think the bad news probably outweighs the good, and we'll explain that.
Oh, that's so sad.
Unfortunately. But that's okay, because we have solutions here.
Always. There's always a solution. We get really creative with it, and I was trying to think of a line that would kind of describe Donald Trump's creativity. And, when it comes to, and if you guys follow the show or if you follow Scope, I'm a huge proponent for capitalism and corporations and corporate structure. When it comes to corporate structure, if it's not illegal, it's legal.
Okay.
May not be moral.
And it might not be the smartest.
But if it's legal and not illegal, however, when it comes to Trump, if he can find it to where it's not illegal and moral, you got a win-win situation. You got to get creative with it, and you will shock the pants. When you get creative, you will shock the pants off of the opposition party. That is the DNC and the GOP. So,
okay.
Just saying. Anyways, what do you want to start out with?
How about a word from our sponsor?
Yeah, sponsor this hour.
You might want to sit down for this one, but this is a little commercial that I stumbled upon this morning, and Brian is queuing it up, and it would serve it best if I just played it for you, and that's that. You gotta go full screen with it. Okay, good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Any day now, Mr. Producer.
Most people think that the school shooting, could never happen here. But those same people are the ones who saw all the signs and never said anything. Being bullied, the obsession with guns, even posting on Instagram about shooting up the school. I mean, no one said anything. I'm sure tomorrow somebody will wish they had said something.
Oh, no, you didn't!
This isn't some internet video that somebody made to troll the internet. This was what I saw on a commercial break on CNN. It wasn't a report about the video. It was a paid commercial on CNN, and it just ran. I was doing some, Oppo research on CNN like I do every week, and they went to commercial, and that came on, and my first thought was, this is CNN, so clearly this is going to be some total communist liberal commercial. And they shocked the hell out of me with the ending of that. What is your reaction? Because I was really mixed.
Oh, my reaction is absolutely, because I railed against, and again, folks, nobody's talking about the shooting in Maryland, where a cop on the beat at the school chased the killer down and put one bullet CNN was claiming that he was out of control with his loose cannon.
That's what they all think. They think that if you arm everybody, that the first sound of a balloon popping, like a little 4-year-old kid with a balloon pops it, and everybody's going to go, oh, in every direction, double-barreled, just going everywhere, reloading clips, belt-fed, throwing grenades, all that stuff.
What movie was it? Was it Quentin Tarantino?
Well, he's got a couple of scenes like that.
The Mexican...
the Desperado.
Desperado. In Desperado.
Oh, you don't have a clip? Come on.
Well, I just thought of it.
I know.
Tell me, how out of control does that get?
Well, and if you've been a student of movies like Brian has more than I have, but me too. Me more just on an amateur level. There's been interviews of Quentin Tarantino, and one of the things that he says is he's not afraid to let a movie be a movie. Like, it doesn't have to be fully realistic as long as it entertains. And Quentin Tarantino dances on that line to where he goes so over the top that you realize, oh, I'm in a movie. It's just a movie, right. Relax. So he almost takes you out of the
when shotguns are being shot at people and the guy's flying in the air.
Yeah, there's a scene where the guy runs up to the hero, the anti-hero in the movie, and he shoots a sawed-off double-barrel shotgun into his gut, and the guy goes flying 50 feet diagonally towards the ceiling. I think his back hit the ceiling.
It's very possible.
Yeah, so obviously that kind of stuff's not realistic. But here's the thing. Liberals, especially these days, where kids don't go outside anymore.
No.
And, being a father, and, when I was in my 20s, I would have never thought of this. And even if somebody tried to explain it to me, I wouldn't believe it. But when you get older and you have a bunch of kids and you've seen them raise up and you get a feeling of how they learn things, what you realize is that if you're stuck in front of a TV all day, that is your reality.
Yeah.
And when you watch these movies like the liberals do sitting on their couch and, their world is what Hollywood presents it as.
Right. And if you're not a Bugs Bunny aficionado and you come hang out with me and my kids and you watch Bugs Bunny for a little bit, you realize a lot of the sayings that I get come from him.
Okay.
I mean, is that a Fronghorn Leghorn? Because that was who my babysitter was growing up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But we knew, I mean, I guess, I wouldn't get somebody in the face with a frying pan like you see in some of the
I was going to go right there.
Okay,
or shove a piano down the steps to get back at your brother or sister.
Although, I don't know. I think back in the day, there might have been some of that. But and then also, when your world is waking up every morning, going to your Xbox and whatnot, and turning on your first-person shooter, and going toe-to-toe with all kinds of crazy weapons, fully automatic, running around in these courses with real people online through the virtual world of Xbox, I mean, over time, especially at a young age, it's got to be a problem. I made mention, we have a text group, and I don't even know if Brian even saw this text that I put out there to all our Patreons, which if you want to be a part of is patreon.com/SmithRadio. Only $1 will get you in. I pointed out that Brian has a son that at a very young age would periodically do like this racing game on the iPod or whatever.
Okay.
And after a while of playing this, he would stand up, and we're talking really young here, like 3 at the time or 2?
He's 3.5 now.
Okay, so it was probably like 2 years old.
Okay.
And this is developmental age. And he would stand up and trip and fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So his motor skills were being learned through a video game.
Right. It was very it's problematic and it's easy. And I'm not here to judge you as a parent. I'm judging myself as a parent.
We didn't even know.
Right. I had
no
clue
idea
that his motor skills or his judgment for the floor to whatever he's doing.
And by the way, your kid's very athletic, so for him, like, it startled me, like, whoa. Like,
he was walking at, what, 10 months?
Well, and he's just...
And able to keep... He's keeping up with the girls and running with the girls and just had to keep up with his bigger sisters.
And he's really strong and all that kind of stuff. But,
that was shocking.
You know what it reminded me of when I saw it? It reminded me of when I would spend 3 hours or whatever it was, whatever the session was, at Roller-Rama, roller skating.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens to you as soon as you take the roller skates off?
I'm still moving.
I mean, the ground feels so weird. And it feels weirder when you're a kid. When you're an adult, you've been walking for decades.
Yeah.
So
you get your sea legs back up.
You get your sea legs, real quick. But as a young kid, roller skating for 3 hours, you take the roller skates off, and all of a sudden your legs just feel so weird. The ground feels weird. Your whole world feels weird.
There's a new set of folks. We're talking about this commercial that we just played, and it was Tell Somebody. For those of you who listen to audio only, it was a young kid in his bedroom with magazines and rifles and guns loaded everywhere around his bedroom. And he put a magazine, put a clip in his rifle, and he said, well, I guess they'll wish they said something.
It was only 30 seconds. You can almost play it again. But, yeah, it was just – it's a 30-second commercial.
It's a 30-second commercial. Let me play the audio for you folks that are listening. Listen to this once again. This kid in his room, you don't see the guns at first. You just see him and his head, his bust.
His face.
And then once he starts to talk, it pans out. And it shows all the ammunition, all the weapons in his room.
Most people think that a school shooting, could never happen here. But those same people are the ones who saw all the signs and never said anything. Being bullied, the obsession with guns, even posting on Instagram about shooting up the school. I mean, no one said anything.
Now he's pulling out all of his guns.
I'm sure tomorrow somebody will wish they had said something.
He just loaded a 30-round clip into an AR-15.
Learn the signs, say something, bring our program to your school.
It's actually saysomething.net, but it's really weird. If you want to see the video yourself, it wasn't at saysomething.net. I had to Google say something commercial, to all 3 separate words, say something commercial, and I eventually found it, and then we just played it a minute ago, and then you heard the audio. But here's the thing.
I'll put it in the note in the description below.
Yeah, put it in the description, and so that way you can see it. But check this out. It's actually can be construed, you tell me, Brian, but it sounds like something that the NRA would make.
Oh, this absolutely would be. No, when I first saw this, I was
not
shocked.
Anti-gun.
I was shocked that you said it was on CNN.
Yeah.
But my whole point about the Maryland shooting is that Maryland went the way it was supposed to go in a very violent situation. Florida, the March for Our Lives, that whole giant mess, the huge mess. This is for you. Every one of you that lived down there that didn't say something, the students that joked about the shooting, the teachers that said, yeah, if anybody's going to shoot somebody, it'd be that knucklehead, the suspensions, the violence, the threats that the kid did. He held a gun, a loaded weapon, and put it to the head of other kids.
Right.
That is a felony.
So there's 2 ways you can look at this. Either A, you should have realized there was something really wrong with this kid, or in the case of some other shooters, like Columbine was probably a good example. This was 2 kids at Columbine, and they were friends with each other. So obviously they have the capacity to have a social life because they had a social life with each other. And yet they were bullied by the cool kids, and they were ostracized and all this kind of stuff. So there's 2 ways you can look at it. Either A, identify that somebody's so crazy that they actually need professional help, and you need to recognize that and have some sort of responsibility to do something. Say something is what they're saying. Or you have a responsibility to not be a bully, to not ostracize people, to reach out and try to friend those that look like they're struggling and that kind of thing. So I actually think it's a very powerful commercial. I'm actually for the commercial. I don't know what you guys think, but definitely let me know in the comments. And it was an interesting commercial.
I can't find it.
Somebody said, so it's the students' fault. No, but I'm saying if you...
No, I'm saying it's the sheriff's fault. Fire sheriff, hashtag fire sheriff Israel. 39 times you were called, you visited the house multiple times, you were in you made a deal with the devil, you set it up with the school board and the law enforcement that you would not arrest or charge any youths that were... out of control, that were robbing, stealing, committing crimes, committing problems, and you would release these kids back out with no criminal records.
Here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's not your fault, and my daughter actually taught me that today. It's not your fault that the shooting happened, but you're going to get criticized for marching to disarm America, to repeal the Second Amendment. You are absolutely going to hear the wrath from us, and for somebody to construe us criticizing those who are marching to remove the Second Amendment as meaning that we're blaming them for being victims of a shooting is just wrong. And so you're wrong saying that. So sorry if you're a fan, but that's the way it is.
So it's saysomething.net.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Saysomething.net. Don't go to .com. Don't go to .org. It's .net. Say Something Anonymous reporting system. See it, report it. Say Something Anonymous. This is definitely...
Yeah, and the video's not there. I don't think it is. Yep, not there. Oh, there it is. No, that's a different video.
This one's about Evan and Columbine and what he learned.
Oh, okay.
Anywho.
So, yeah, I actually had to Google Say Something commercial to find it, but there you can, whatever. So, anyway.
Good, positive message, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it ends up being the right thing. Yeah. It's shocking, but...
On CNN.
But that's what no, I mean, I was startled when I saw it because it's just, you don't expect that, you know? It's like the twist at the end. But at the end of the day, the message I thought was right.
Absolutely. It's frustrating that CNN does what they do, and that we're shocked that this would be on CNN. It is really sad that the mainstream media... I was talking to my pastor this afternoon, and he had mentioned some of the topics in the news this week, and we got to talking, and he actually brought up Donald Trump. He was in his service today. He made the comment. He said, "How many of you all like so-and-so? How many of you all like Donald Trump? How many of y'all are into the NRA?" Just on and on, different things. And he said, the whole message in the end, he said, and how many of you really like your in-laws? He said, you can dislike a lot of people, but you got to understand, all this hate, it ain't getting nowhere. Got to stop the hate. And it was good service. It's good service. Anyway, so he brought that up, and I told him, I said, you know, with Barack Obama, and he said, oh, yeah, Obama, when he left, he had 60% approval. I said, yeah, but he had 100% positive news in the media.
That's true.
I mean, I even went on Twitter and did something came up, and it said some knucklehead posted Barack Obama, the greatest president that ever lived, scandal-free.
Based on what? Okay, so scandal-free, but what about IRS scandal?
Well, he went on down the list. I was like, this has got to be a parody account.
Yeah.
So I retweeted it with a quote, and I listed about a dozen of the scandals.
Right.
And then I put hashtag Uranium1 Hillary Clinton.
I mean, that is Hillary Clinton was one of the big players in the Obama administration. So you can't just say, oh, well, that was just Hillary Clinton. That wasn't Obama.
She was greenlit to go to raise money for the causes. But anyway, so the person deleted the tweet.
Good.
Well, okay, I didn't even get a screenshot of it, but it was so ridiculous.
I've tweeted things that were 100% false, and I didn't know it at the time, and I was very quickly corrected, and I deleted them. That's okay. It happens to the best of us. We can't be right 100% of the time.
Yeah, but I wouldn't post out that Barack Obama was scandal-free.
So you're saying that it's okay to be wrong every once in a while, just not that wrong.
I don't know. Call Paul. See how he feels.
Paul who?
Nealon.
Oh. Well, what are you going to do?
You know, you could only go so far. And
You got to know where the boundary lines are.
You have to know the boundary lines, folks.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be joking around in the locker room, or whatever you do. But you got to have some decorum.
Well, having a public life is like jumping in a car and driving it around. You can't drive through people's front yards. You can't just jerk the wheel into the oncoming lane in traffic.
Well, you can.
Oh, you're right. You can. But there will be consequences.
As some of our past guests have found out.
Well,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It is, absolutely. So anyway, the big March for Your Lives, since we're on that topic that went down this week, if you guys have been paying any attention at all, Jack Posobiec was there periscoping. What he had found was shocking.
Was it?
Not really. I mean, we all knew it, but...
We knew it, but I'm going to be honest with you, to that extent, I'm not sure. I know Will Chamberlain, not Wilt Chamberlain, but Will Chamberlain on Twitter. He's a very prolific periscoper and friends with Jack Posobiec and all these people. So he's the first one that was periscoping of the buses. There were buses.
Oh, I didn't know.
Everywhere.
That was Will Chamberlain who was doing that?
He's the one. He's got that low voice, kind of young-looking dude with a real low voice.
Right.
He was the one, and just by accident, you know how it ended up happening? He tried to periscope the march, but because of the amount of people, if you've ever tried to periscope or do any kind of a live feed of any kind in a very, very large crowd, it is almost impossible because everybody is using the internet. And so the bandwidth in that very small local geographic location with the huge crowd pretty much just jams up and you can't do it. So that happened to Will.
Yeah, when we were in D.C., my phone was jammed up when we were walking with the...
it's pretty much impossible.
Who were we marching with?
It was you and I and just us. Oh, you mean the... It was the...
It was women marching on something?
No, it wasn't women because the women was the day after the inauguration.
Maybe this was like a gay march.
Was it the Gay Pride March? Whatever it was.
But you scoped it. I couldn't even get service.
And I may have had to drop it. But that happened to Will. So what Will did, Will knew what was going on. He needed to get away from the crowd. So he started walking directly in the opposite direction of the crowd so that he can maybe pick up a tower that wasn't so vastly used so he could start scoping. And that's what he did. Well, as he started getting a little bit towards the outskirts of the perimeter of the march, he ran into all of the charter buses, and there were dozens and dozens of them. And he started marveling at the amount of logistics required, the team and the money involved.
The sponsor, bus, the number 4, hire, on Twitter, bus for the number 4 hire. I actually called him.
Oh, really? Okay. How'd that go?
Beep, beep. All circuits are busy. Please hang up and try your call again.
So they just got jammed with...
Yeah, because you can go right to their website and you can fill out a form on the front page to submit a request for a bus.
Okay.
Multiple size buses.
Were you going to ask him how much it cost for the day, or?
I was actually going to say, hey man, you got any more left? I know you're all busy with this march and stuff, but you got anything left? But they didn't even pick up. And there is a phone number right on the front page. Okay. That's where they messed up. See, a lot of times if you scroll all the way down, you click Contact Us, then it goes to another page that says, please fill this out. But if you scroll down again, it'll say, do you really want to contact us? Because if you do, the next page might have our phone. So you got to go through and you finally get the number. No, this company, right on the front page, right up front, call them.
Okay.
Crazy.
Well, so we have good and bad news. The good news is this thing was heavily, heavily, heavily astroturfed. And I was listening to CNN this morning, hearing people say that this march was organized by the kids of Douglas High School.
Yes, this was grassroots from the children, the youth.
The children put this all together. That is such an incredible bull-faced lie. If you say this, if you hear somebody on CNN or anywhere say that this was organized by the high school students, those people are the biggest and worst liars. They're not even they're actively trying to deceive you with a falsehood.
Right.
They're not even they're not even saying, well, it sort of seems like it's organized by the kids. No, they are actively trying to fill your head with false information that we call propaganda.
The logistical nightmare to pull off something like this would have taken a professional crew.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done little get-togethers.
A professional crew with lots of experience who've done this. I mean, the same people who organized the Women's March, which, by the way, was like 2 million people. I mean, we were leaving and kind of watching it on the way home after the inauguration.
Are you talking the pink hat march?
Yes.
Pink hats, yeah.
That's a nice way to put it.
The posse hats. They were all in a posse.
Okay. All right. I'll reluctantly defer to that description. But, so yeah, the disgusting Women's March, and I don't mean women are disgusting. That march was disgusting.
Linda Say-Sauer and Madonna, both disgusting individuals.
I think Linda's in jail right now, isn't she?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, terrorists shouldn't be free to walk around.
No.
And she is an absolute terrorist. But anyway, so the good news is that this was very, very professionally put together, paid for massively by big donors. But here's the bad news. And we wanted to have...
There's an effect here.
We wanted to have Timothy Schwartz on. I'm really sorry to him. I want to make mention of him. He is at Buckaroo for You on Twitter. Please follow him. The only reason he's not on right now is because the daggone patch cable that we needed to have him on, it's not here. But here's what we need to talk about.
You had an iPhone, man.
Here's what we need. I got this ridiculous phone.
It's a beautiful phone.
It is a beautiful phone. You've probably seen a lot of great footage from it.
Oh, yeah.
Problem is they removed the audio jack in favor of what they call a C, USB-C or something like that.
But his USB-C, because my phone too, the iPhones, there's no audio jack. Mm-hmm. It's just that your plug is different than anything in the entire world.
That's right.
In the world.
So the adapter that I have, which is extremely hard to find these days, is sitting at home.
You lost it, and how hard was it for you to get a new one?
I almost thought, they pretty much told me you're probably not going to be able to get another one. Instead of selling me one, Verizon dug through their office in the back, like in the back room, and came out with one and said, hey, we have an extra one, just take this, but don't lose it. Don't lose it, because this is it.
Oh, man.
So anyway, but I do have it. It's at home. Okay. Couldn't get Timothy on the phone, but I'm telling you, this is a really important message. The organization that they put together to make this march happen, by the way, was not a march for life. It was not a march against the Second Amendment. All of that was the smokescreen. They're not going to get rid of the Second Amendment. They're not going to take your guns away. Nope. It will never happen in our lifetime. Nope. It just is not going to happen. What it was a voter drive.
Huge.
The whole thing was a voter drive. They're trying to get anybody that's 17 or older, or anybody that just decided, hey, there's a bus. Oh, free ride to D.C.? Let's have a free vacation.
I ain't got nothing to do, and I got my daddy's credit cards or whatever. I've got nothing.
Oh, maybe I don't
need no money?
Yeah.
You got free food and drinks?
Yeah, offering all of it. So why wouldn't you go to this thing? And by the way, when you get off the bus, there's a tent there with a nice table and a whole bunch of papers on it, and you must get in line to register to vote, to make a change, to make a difference, to make your pathetic life meaningful. You need to do something. You need to be involved in something that does something tangible, something that might be in the history books one day. And I believe that Timothy would be – he's probably screaming at his screen right now that I'm telling you that they're not going to take your Second Amendment rights away from you, because he would say it's actually a threat. And it's true. It's true. There is a remote chance that that's going to happen. But there's other things that they can take away from you without the Second Amendment going away. There's all kinds of things that the left will take away from you. They will curb some of the Second Amendment. They will curb speech. Look what's happening in the UK. And the UK doesn't have the First Amendment, but you're getting arrested for teaching your dog to lift its paw up part way to make it look like a Nazi salute. Yeah,
it went down.
Yeah.
Oh man!
Count Dankula on Twitter
got hit.
Which I think he may have been suspended. Not sure. Probably. But Count Dankula on Twitter is in jail or going to jail.
Well, if David Hogg was in London, he'd be arrested. He gave the Hitler salute.
I thought it was a fist. Was it?
Yeah, but people are trying to say, but it was a fist, and it was like, ow.
Oh, it wasn't high enough.
No.
Oh, by the way, if you're anywhere around cameras,
politically correctness here. I had to learn this from Carrie.
I had to learn it from Rush Limbaugh.
Okay.
Rush Limbaugh said this: do not ever wave to a crowd with your elbow straight. I'm not even going to do it here because somebody will get me.
They'll dox you.
No, not dox you. They'll take that still shot of you waving to the crowd with a straight elbow. I won't even do it here. And they'll say, oh my gosh, he gave a Nazi salute to all of his Nazis. And
it's a dog whistle.
Oh, yeah.
Seen him.
Yeah, that wasn't a wave. That was I just knocked into.
So they were ridiculing David Hogg.
They did it to him.
Yeah, they did it to him, and then.
My gosh.
And then you see the pictures of.
Well, I don't want to get off this subject though, guys.
Go ahead.
They're getting organized. They're able to bring all these buses. They're centralizing large, huge crowds all over the country. They said there were 800 marches across the country. All of them were not a march for life. They were not a march for taking away. They do want to take away your guns, but they're using the messaging. It's not about actually putting together policy that's ever going to pass to take your guns away from you. It's about putting together a narrative, not letting a crisis go to waste, using the blood of children in our high schools to congregate people into one location so that they can register you to vote. Now, I'm not saying that these people shouldn't register the vote. I'm not saying that they shouldn't show up to the polls on Election Day to vote, but they are certainly organizing. They're getting people organized. Do you remember MAGA 3X?
Oh, I do.
MAGA 3X was a message to people that would show up at these Trump rallies to not just go to vote by yourself. It wasn't good enough to just show up to vote.
Bring 3 people with you.
Yep. MAGA 3X was a call for everybody to find 3 of their friends and drag them to the polls with them and make them vote. And the idea being that a good portion of the 3 people that you would bring would probably vote for Trump because they're friends with you, and you're doing this because you were told by whoever it was that was speaking MAGA 3X, which MAGA we know is Make America Great Again, which is the red hat that the right were wearing. So we need to do something. We absolutely need to do something. We need to get organized. Should we jump up right now and run out the door and start knocking door to door? Hey, if you want to do that, that is great. We love that. But for us to sit there and say to everybody listening that you must go do that, I think is probably an exercise in futility, don't you think? I
definitely would.
What percentage of people, like, we told everybody that you should donate $1 to not just us, but every single person who's spreading the message like us in new media, the few people who are actually speaking the truth against the power of the mainstream media who is spewing propaganda. And it's a very small number, which, by the way, is right in line with the same kind of numbers that Tim Pool gets. And Tim Pool doesn't exactly have the same narrative that we have. but it's a numbers game, right? And so it's almost not even – I almost feel like for me to sit there and say you need to go and knock door to door, if we didn't say it at all, the same people that would do it because we said it are the same people that would do it because the RNC has told them to do it or whatnot. Right. So one thing I'll say, though, so Timothy Schwartz said, we got to tell people, we got to do something, we got to organize. One question I can't wait to ask him is, what? You know, the left has this ginormous organization. This is not grassroots. There is no grassroots uprising. The left didn't just say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of all these school shootings. I'm getting out. I'm running to D.C., and I'm going to demand that the lawmakers do something. Are you going to show the... What? His is a fist. That's different.
Oh, they were cracking on him for it.
Oh, Brian wants to show the hog.
So we call him the hog now?
The hog picture. It's a picture of David Hogg. Right. Well, you're taking forever on this, aren't you? So I'll get back to it.
Get back to it.
So the left has this ginormous organization that they can tap into where charter buses show up at your location to take you to D.C. And this is funded by these giant communist donors. And the right doesn't have that. And the big donors for the right aren't really all that interested in doing that. In fact, I think the right collectively think that it's just a sad, pathetic thing that we would have to hold everybody's hand to go and do something like that. We don't march. We show up at the voting booth.
Right.
I mean, why do you think the left has to work so hard to do these marches and it's because
they're wrong.
Well, that's part of it. No, because they're outnumbered.
Yeah.
We outnumber them about 2 to 1.
Well, unless you ask CNN in their polling, they have to poll more Democrats to get the numbers right.
Actual objective polls that are not stacked in favor of the left or fraudulent or whatever show that conservatives outnumber communists, liberals, or progressives, whatever, about 2 to 1.
Even a brother-in-law of yours didn't know how much of a conservative capitalist he really was until he realized, hey,
right,
man, I got a pretty successful business. I hate the taxes that get me, and this Obamacare choking me out. I got no insurance. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean that.
I said, man, welcome to the club. The water's warm. Jump on in.
Yeah, I mean we're getting sick and tired of getting taxed to death, and then now we can't even get.
So here's Hogg. For those of you who are listening to audio, it's two pictures, one of Hitler with the salute, and the other one with David Hogg.
So this is,
what do you think? No?
Fight fire with fire. This is what the left does. They're like, ha, we caught him in a still shot with a straight elbow. His arm raised, straight elbow. We are definitely going to call him Hitler now. And that's what the left does. And what we learned in the 2016 election cycle through these, 4chan meme generating people, is that we have to beat the left at their game, and this is just a perfect example of them doing it.
Dude, meme wars are real. Meme wars are real.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good times.
So Timothy would say, Timothy Schwartz, who is at Buckaroo for You, please follow him, and hopefully he can get some of what he's missing out on not being able to be on the show today because of my absent-mindedness on the cord that we needed to have him on. Hopefully he gets what he needs to say out on Twitter, and maybe possibly have him on next week if this is still a hot topic. But it's going to be he's going to tell you this is a hot topic all the way through to Election Day this year. And so we need to be organized because we can't just leave it to our fellow neighbors in the conservative world to show up to vote. I mean, it's weird. Look what happened in these midterm special elections. They're not showing up to vote.
No, well, and I'm going to say this. I know Breitbart came out with an article and talked about how the blue wave rising, isn't rising like they thought it was, and this March for Lives is the answer for their blue wave not rising.
Also, they're actually seeing the video that Jack Posobiec put right now. There's dozens and dozens of buses, and this is only one location. There's probably buses in several. He's pointing them out right now. There are a lot. He
started counting them. He counted up to 15 to 20, and then turned the corner and said, "Oh wow, I missed those over there." And he got up to like
they're
25.
Everywhere. There's only so much room on a street, which means if you have hundreds of buses, they're going to be everywhere, which we found from not just Jack Posobiec, but also Will Chamberlain. Their scopes point this out. And it's funny, isn't it ironic that they may have never even noticed this if it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't scope in the crowd. They had to leave the crowd, go to the outskirts just to do a real quick live scope, and boom, they're like, oh, look at all these buses. So I didn't see Jack's, but I saw Will, but he pointed out too, just as Timothy Schwartz is trying to tell everybody, that we've got to be able to do what they're doing. My argument is, how? If you have George Soros willing to dump $1 billion on this kind of organization, what are we to do? I mean, I'm thinking, what do we urge very, very wealthy conservative people? Hey, it's time to start putting your money down. It's time to start, hiring people into an organization that will do this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't think the right really cares to jump on a charter bus to go to D.C.
Right. No,
there needs to be a different way to do a voter drive.
Probably not. And the only, I guess the thing is that the conservative voter, the average everyday voter, is John Q. Public. Old boy's got it. Old boy or old girl, they got jobs. They got.
I'm glad you brought that up. Oh my gosh!
Because I'm thinking about myself when you and I took off. Every time that Carrie and I roll out of town.
Yeah, when you saw us in D.C. 3 times.
And in Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia, and then the next one that's coming up is in September.
Yeah, where was that again? Is that D.C.?
You sent it to me.
I know, I can't remember. There's so many things going on.
It was D.C. Okay. So we're trying to plan this one so that we can roll out to D.C. And for those of you that are Patreons, come meet up with us in D.C. I know we've been talking for a while about getting together.
This might be a good thing. I don't think anybody knows about it yet. I'm really sorry for the organizers if this hasn't been made public yet. But there's something that is a MAGA version of CPAC finally coming up. This is something that's been talked about by Mike Cernovich for a long, long time, where they were like, you know what, we need to compete directly. And the Bull Moose Party was it was during CPAC, and it was kind of like a, hey, you don't have to go to the Reagan dinner. You don't have to go to the Reagan dinner.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was, the Reagan dinner. Yeah. This was instead of the Reagan dinner.
Instead of the Reagan dinner, forget those cucks. Come to the CPAC alternative, or the new media version, which was Bull Moose, and it was a lot of fun, but it was small and
New Media Awards Gala.
Yeah, the New Media Gala.
Handed out awards for new media.
Right. So what ended up happening was it just got put on the back burner. Well, finally, I think Ali Akbar is putting this together. He's at Ali. I think he's one of the main organizers of it. And it's going to be a alternative to CPAC, where there's going to be probably breakout sessions and speakers, and it's all going to be pro-Trump. Maybe that's going to be a part of what needs to happen, but it needs to be like an all-hands-on-deck thing. I think what I would say, if you're listening to me right now, you're obviously you're not like just some random person out there on the Twitterverse. You're one of the people that are like woke. You're woke, but you could be considered one of the leaders, one of the people that are doing more than your average Joe that's out there. Like, yeah, I support Trump, or I like what he's doing. If you're listening to us right now, you're one of the people that has the potential to be like, I can contribute. And what I mean contribute is like, what can you offer that actually does compete with the organization that we see at these March for Lives? Can you go door to door, or can you be a speaker, or can you just organize something on the internet? It could be something really small. There's somebody that I'm following right now, and I should go find him right now on the internet while I'm talking about him. There's actually several people who are doing nothing more than taking as many Twitter accounts as possible that can fit on one tweet, putting it all in a tweet.
I saw that.
And saying, follow all these people, retweet it, and they're doing it every day, and each list is slightly altered. There'll be a couple of different names in it. They're doing it every day, and here's the thing. It's gotten to the point now where it's over 100 people are retweeting it. So it's not just the people on there that are following everybody else that's on there. It's all these other people that are wishing they could get on that list, and they follow everybody, and then they'll even reply and say, I'm following everybody, please follow back, and I follow those people. Right. Twitter obviously is they could shut all that down.
In a heartbeat. They could shut it down so easily.
But it's a start that, if doesn't get shut down, is definitely going to be a good way of networking with fellow Trump supporters.
And that's the other thing about networking. We have been able, because of Donald Trump, folks, you want to talk about a leader pulling people together, rising tide raises all ships. Donald Trump is directly responsible for Smith Radio going to video, for Smith Radio going to D.C. multiple times, for Smith Radio going to Alpharetta, Georgia.
That's how excited we are about it.
I mean, it is directly his fault that we know you and that you know us. Otherwise, it would have never have happened.
Well, we've been doing this since long before we even
were doing this
dreamed.
when nobody was listening. We knew it.
No. We didn't even know Trump was even
years
in the
before
picture.
Yeah, years before
We had
Trump.
no idea, and we have to thank Trump for actually getting noticed.
Right.
So we were doing this for, a year and a half before Trump came along?
But there was a common thread, a common bond. We could label it to Trump, and that was the common thread.
Right.
And if you knew somebody had a Trump bumper sticker, and we still do it now, me and the kids, we do it now. It's like, hey, this is a Trump bumper sticker. And I'll beat my horn and wave at them because there's a common thread there. There's common values. Whether you like them or not, there's still a common core value. And Donald,
did you say common core? Oh my gosh.
a core value that's common amongst all of us that Donald Trump embodies. And whether somebody says grab him in a posse or whatever, it's irrelevant. Just like we were talking about last week, Winston Churchill, and the general that was supposed to, that Abraham Lincoln was supposed to fire Grant because he was a drunk, and in Patton, General Patton, in peacetime, no man, you ain't getting elected to nothing, bruh. But in wartime, if we are at war, folks, this is when I saw this march on Washington D.C. and I heard about the marches throughout the country. You want to talk about demoralizing, and that's exactly why they're doing it. They're doing it because it's demoralizing, and it pushes us down and says, hey, you all are irrelevant. Look at all these people. Same thing right after the election. All the paid protests to march in the street, to march on Trump Tower. Really? Really? We've got an elected president and these marches together to march against on Trump Tower? No, it's the optics. It's the optics. It's for you. It's for me. It's for all. It goes back to the basics, folks. The only way they can beat Trump is to sever the tie between Trump and his base.
And as Rush Limbaugh says, only Trump can do that. Only Trump. They cannot sever. Nobody but Trump can sever the ties between Trump and his base. It's as simple as that. Trump has to do something.
They don't know that, though. They don't know that. They're
Rush knows that, but no, you're right. They don't know that.
The left is out of their mind with insanity with the likes I've never seen before. And when you see people posting up how polarized this nation has become, it's not Trump.
Yeah, it's the left. Think about it. What has Trump done other than win the election and defeat Hillary Clinton that would cause people such irrational rage?
Well, it's the DT syndrome, Donald Trump syndrome.
Okay. Trump derangement syndrome?
Yeah, Trump derangement syndrome. What the problem is, folks, is that they, and when I say they, I mean the Uniparty, the DNC, the GOP, the RNC, all of them, they had total 100% control of D.C., the swamp that is D.C., They owned it. They have it. It's all theirs.
Even when the Republicans were in charge.
They handed Obama, and I know, folks, you've been listening to this long enough to where you know these things when I say them again, but I can't help it. Barack Hussein Obama, getting ready to leave office, said, you know what, Mr. Speaker Ryan, I need me 1.4 for about 9 months. I need a little cash.
Okay.
Paul Ryan gave one look. I said, 1.4 million? No, billion? No, Ryan. Come on, baby. Ryan, what we got? And Ryan's like, okay, 1.4 trillion.
Oh, gosh.
Here's your budget. Here you go, Mr. And this is exactly what just happened. It's them versus us. And I almost played the Pink Floyd song, Them and Us. But that's exactly what it's become. It's become them and us. And when I say them, it is the left-wing lunatics that encompass John Kasich this week coming out railing against the NRA and railing against anybody that's common sense skunk. Barack Obama came out this week. Did you hear that? He come out. Common sense reform. That's all we need. Just Carrie, just common sense.
What's so common sense about it?
Do you have common sense, Carrie?
What is common sense about taking away freedoms?
Carrie, I know you. You got common sense.
Right. That's why I don't understand what he's talking about.
Right. But Barack Obama came out. This thing they need to light the torch on this. And the way to do it is to organize hundreds of thousands of people to march. And then to sign them up to vote.
That's really what it was. It was a voter drive.
And as we see here with some of the polls out, this is really relevant. It was a Pew poll research that did a huge polling. 18 to 29-year-olds. 18 to 29, 32% support Trump. 18 to 29. It's a huge demographic right there. I don't know where they cut the limits of the ages, and they might have done it on purpose because the numbers got too high. I don't know. But 18 to 29 was one group, and they said 32% support Trump. The rest don't. So, and that's the lowest group. The next 30 to 49, 36% for Trump. 50 to 64, 40% for Trump. And 66 and above, 49% for Trump. So why would they go after older generation when it's so much easier to go after the Utes that just left indoctrination high to
they've never had any real responsibility. They've never had
swoop them up.
They've never had to go work hard to pay bills that the government takes a lot of money from.
Right, it's low-lying fruit is what they're picking at. They're picking at low-lying fruit, and they're using the youth, these children, which is exactly, and I've got to go down Hitler Row just because it's exactly what Hitler did.
Yeah, the Hitler Youth was a really big part of keeping that ideology going.
It is exactly what Hitler did. He said, we have to ban your guns because of all these children around me. And he had children around him. This is propaganda 101. He knows this. We know this. And all of a sudden, we got a whole. Somebody needs to get Betsy DeVos on the horn because we got a.
They need to shut that propaganda machine down.
We got an entire government department teaching children wrong. They got all the kids.
They're not teaching them about the founding of America correctly.
Yeah, they're teaching them the founding,
right,
which is on slavery, not correctly.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just what it's ridiculous. I know it sounds silly when I say it, but they're really doing it. It doesn't sound silly to a 6-year-old kid.
And it works because you hear it in some of the interviews that the liberals give to conservatives.
Right.
And they give these answers that sound absolutely insane. But they truly believe it because they were taught this from a very young age by the Department of Education, and it's repeated over and over throughout school, and they don't have any real-world experience to come up with the conclusion that everything that they're being taught is a lie.
Right.
It doesn't come to their realization until there's massive losing in life. When you lose and lose and lose at life, and you stop and you reflect on what's causing you, what are the things that cause you to lose in life, it's all the stuff that they told you you should be believing in and doing and behaving and all this kind of stuff in the Democrat Party. And that's when you come to the realization. Now, not everybody does it. You got your Al Frankens, all these older guys that
Al
are just,
Sharpton.
Yeah,
Jesse
well, now these are probably bad examples because they're using the brainwashing of the masses to enrich themselves and empower themselves.
The Maxine Waters.
But like an older, just a voter who has no power, no money, no wealth. They've been a loser in life because they followed the Democrat model. And sometimes those people just never realize it.
I work with a handful of them.
Yeah.
They're just angry. Every day they come to work, and they're angry at who?
They never know why. They never learn why they've lost in life.
They're angry at the man. It's somebody else that did something to them. They're a victocrat from my good buddy Larry Elder.
Yeah.
They're a victocrat. They're a victim of society. I was infected with being a victocrat for many, many years until it got so painful, as Anthony Robbins says, you only change when the pain gets so hard that it's less painful to change than to stay where you are. You got to have a paradigm shift. You got to change that up. And a lot of these older folks, the older you get, the harder it is to have a paradigm shift and change.
Yeah, and the really sad paradox that we're living in, it's frustrating for us because we know what doesn't work and what does work. But in a society that is capitalist, freedom, they get to say, you see, this is the source of all your misery. It's their society, it's their ideology, because that's what we have. We don't have the communist utopia that's going to solve all your problems. And so it's easy for them to recruit people to vote for communism. But it's not until they get it. That's the paradox. They have to get it for them to realize, oh, no, Venezuela.
Right?
Venezuela had to get it. Cuba had to get it. North Korea had to get it.
Cuba still hasn't gotten it.
I mean, they have to get their communism that they asked for.
And they got it.
Right.
And juxtapose when they took that picture, somebody on the ground zero in Cuba, in one of the alleyways, the streetways, took a photo that went viral of Barack Obama flying out of Cuba on the capitalist-built, the greatest country human beings have ever witnessed, a 747, just flying out of Cuba, and the wretched squalor. Down there that are the houses, the 1950 cars, there's nothing new, the telephone poles that are 50 years old, everything that is just backwards. And it's our fault. It's America's fault.
Well, the Castros, absolutely. That's been their narrative from the day they took over.
But if you had embraced capitalism, could you imagine where you'd be now?
Well,
Cuba.
We punished them because of their alliance with the Soviet Union, and then their allowing of nuclear weapons during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That we're punishing them for that. But you're right. It's funny that
for decades we told them, if you drop this communism and stop oppressing your people, things will change.
But communism is what gave Castro his power.
Right, he ain't going to let that...
He's not going to let it go.
Until he dies.
But the people on the ground, they're being told by their government that the reason that they're suffering is because of the United States' punishment of them. And we give them the proof of that by doing the sanctions. I'm not saying we should take the sanctions off. It's just that's the world we live in. We live in the world where our actions against Cuba, which are justified, end up being used as the propaganda to convince the people that it's not communism that's bad. It's just it can't be exercised successfully when you got these evil devils up there in America holding us down.
Well, that's the only way they can spin it. The same way
Right.
out in Venezuela with the garbage truck driver, the union guy that runs the place now. That's the only way he can spin it. He actually spun it against Barack Obama, and now
Right.
he's spinning it against Trump.
But you got to keep this going. You got to keep the message alive. The truth has to get out. You have to tell everybody that you hear whenever they start. First of all, you got to know communism and the difference between capitalism and communism. Once you know it, then every time you hear somebody start to spew the talking points, you can identify it, point it out, and then you can attack it by saying this. Don't forget, we have Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Every one of them go
Greece.
down the same exact path. Now, Greece is a little different. That's just like heavy socialism. I don't know if it was full-blown communism. But,
When you can retire at 50.
well, my point is, we're getting
Sorry.
deep into the conversation, but socialism is like communism and capitalism, freedom. It's like a spectrum where socialism is like the last stop before communism. And so that's why Greece went down the way they did, because they were that close to communism. So the closer you get to that, the more punishment you're going to
More
inflict.
pain you feel.
The pain is hard. But so it loses every time. It loses every time, and you have to know that the Democrats are pushing for this hard, more so than I've ever seen in my life. They used to try to hide it, and it would lead normal everyday people, to question whether or not the Democrats are really pushing for actual communism. These days, they're not even trying to hide it.
Well, the New York Slimes did an article about a month ago that said 2018 elections, Democrats make a hard left.
Yeah.
Make a hard left?
What do you think that fist he was holding up? Look, David Hogg was not advocating for black power.
No.
He was holding the fist up.
Solidarity.
Of communism. Yeah,
Solidarity.
The iconic fist that you see held up is the communist,
Workers
the
unite.
salute.
Workers unite.
It's the communist salute. So yeah.
And you know what? David Hogg is going to experience a little bit of his own just desserts. He's complaining already. Already, he said, after we come back from spring break.
Oh gosh, the humanity.
When we come back from spring break, you're not going to believe it.
Is he going to?
They're going to require all of us to have clear plastic backpacks.
Interesting.
It's unnecessary. It's embarrassing for a lot of the students.
And is there more?
Oh.
Because I'll tell you what I read about that, the clear backpacks.
Yeah.
They were complaining, check this out, they were complaining that why should they get punished, everybody get punished for the actions of one crazy kid.
But hold on. Aren't they the party that says we all should share in everything?
Well, they're the ones that are trying to punish gun owners for the actions of one crazy person.
This is true.
Now they know how we feel. And somebody tweeted that, and I forget who it was, and I'm sorry, I didn't know that I would even be able to bring it up during the show. But yeah, I forgot about the clear backpack. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, one of my persons that I'm following, that they should know how we feel. You're trying to take our arms, they're trying to disarm us, which is a punishment to law-abiding people for the actions of one crazy person, and yet they don't even realize that they're feeling the same pain, the same oppression, the same treatment when perfectly normal kids who are abiding by all the rules and laws are punished by having to wear clear backpacks.
That's what's happening. Somebody posted a picture of David Hogg's head on the body of a young girl. It's real, like probably a young tween between, like 12, 13. And she's wearing shorts, normal shorts, but clear plastic pants. And that's the new outfit to go to school. So
like
they
the
know
shorts were like supposed to be like boxers?
Yeah, they were underneath the clear plastic pants. And that's so that the officers, when you go to school, can see there's no concealed carry weapon.
So they should just have clear clothes altogether, because couldn't you just hide a weapon in your underwear?
Sure. We should actually get TSA to
Oh, they would love that.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, we would be getting calls.
Did you see the article where they did a study and found out that more attractive females were infinitely more likely to be singled out for a groping search at NSA? They actually did a study. TSA
Yeah.
was targeting attractive women for the pat downs,
That's awful.
for the back room.
What the hell? That's awful.
So yeah, if you're an attractive female and you're planning on flying, you are statistically significantly higher likely to get patted down.
Oh, that's awful.
So
There's a rapper out of rapper Killer Mike.
Okay.
I don't know, out of Georgia.
Georgia. Okay.
Apparently, he's an NRA supporter.
Okay.
And he said to progressive gun grabbers, "You're not woke, and you're going to progress us into slavery." In the lead up to the March 14th walkout for gun control, Killer Mike said he told his kids, "I love you, but if you walk out that school, you walk out my house."
What?
Wow. You can't continue to be a lackey. You're a lackey of the progressive movement because you never disagreed with the people who tell you what to do. So he's calling it out, rapper Mike, Killer Mike, saying, you know what, you got to disagree with these people and you got to tell them so. And these progressives got to get woke.
You know, we need to define woke because when I first heard about woke, I was like, oh, red pilled, right? Yeah. Well, turns out there's a large segment of the left who also use that word, which doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't say how that works.
To me, it sounds like you've been propagandized.
Oh, so you're fully and completely infected with liberalism, and you are propagandized. So you're woke. No, that still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it sounds to me like the opposite. But so apparently woke was originally used by the African American community to as a way to show that you've graduated from being told about America being founded on slavery.
You mean you realize that we're founded on slavery, and that's now you're woke?
Well, realize is a very broad term.
Okay.
I think you've been told by people who like to propagandize.
Oh, man, you're going to Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, so according to Urban Dictionary...
you better censor that one. And the pictures. Good Lord!
So woke is not even a word because it's an incorrect tense of the word awake.
Oh, true that.
So woke is not a real word. But anyway, reference to how people should be aware in current affairs. That's a very, very general. Okay, one says...
Read the example while you were obsessing.
While you are obsessing with the Kardashians, there are millions of homeless in the world. Stay woke. So basically, all they did, it sounds like, is redefine conscience.
Yeah.
Remember... consciousness in the world. We need to raise consciousness in the world. So they replace consciousness with woke.
That's a shorter word. It's easy to say.
It's one syllable.
It's fun.
It's also a state of perceived intellectual superiority one gains by reading the Huffington Post.
You got woke. Wow.
Oh, no, you didn't. Who wrote that? That's actually hilarious.
That is hysterical. Because really, reading the Huffington Post, when you feel superior, your intellectual superiority while reading it, you are now officially woke. I'll buy that.
Here's the example. Ali is so woke. At brunch, she explained how wearing anything other than Chuck Taylors or Toms is really a microaggression. Hey, did you get your Amy Schumer tickets yet? What? Dude, they're literally clowning on progressives here.
That's hysterical.
Wow,
so just real quick to wrap this whole thing up for the March of Our Lives, Joe Pollock, if you don't follow him, you absolutely should. He's a writer at Breitbart News. He wrote, there's 3 things that you need to know about this march. One is that the protests banned speakers who support the Second Amendment, including student survivors like Kyle Kushner and relatives of the victim like Hunter Pollock.
I pronounce it Kashoff because that would be the. It looks kind of Russian.
It does. Wonder if they know Trump.
Well, if he's Russian, there's a good chance there's a connection.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Number 2, President Donald Trump had already banned bump stocks and signed expanded background checks and school safety measures into law by the time the marches even began. There was no more legislation to pass. And by the way, Barack Obama allowed bump stocks to be legal.
Oh, you mean he had the chance to ban them?
Yeah, and Barack Obama just let it be. But hold on, I want to get wrapped up in bump stocks. But this goes back to your initial point and Timothy Schwartz's point, is that this wasn't about anything other than raising votes.
Oh, yeah, it was just a voter drive.
And then 3, the marches were backed by big leftist organizations and accompanied by many get-out-the-vote efforts. Many of the marchers last week and this weekend chanted that familiar left-wing refrain, "This is what democracy looks like." So, perhaps so, mob rule is the crudest form of democracy. That by Joe Pollock. Well, that was his own sentiment.
In a way, that is what democracy is, and why our founders did not create a democracy.
We have a representative. We have representatives that represent the people in our republic.
Yeah, it's a republic, and there is a very, very distinct difference. And it was determined by our founders that a democracy is always not only doomed to fail in the long run, but also can be very oppressive in and of itself. It takes leadership of moral people that are put in place by the people, and that's what a republic is. I call it a democratic republic because we do actually elect the representatives, and the actual act of going to vote for one of these people is democracy. So when we're having an election and you hear me use the word democracy, please don't say, but we don't have a democracy. It is the democratic process of electing our representatives in our republic.
Right, not the Democrat Party.
Right, so please don't hammer me on that because I'm right and you're not.
Nice.
Just saying.
Wow. Okay. So, let's see. Let's go with. I got a video clip here, real quick. We're gonna get into Tim Kaine. This knucklehead.
We're gonna spend an hour on Tim Kaine because
don't scare people like that.
Oh no, but you're gonna love every minute of it. Trust me, because we're gonna skewer him.
So Tim Kaine was on CNN this morning, and Carrie texted me and said, "Brian, Tim Kaine is on CNN. He's losing his G."
He was the VP nominee.
Get the clip. I'm like, oh, it's so hard sometimes.
If Hillary Clinton won the presidency, he would be our vice president right now.
Yeah,
I feel scary.
Yeah, worse than worse. Worse than Lurch. Could you imagine having Lurch as president?
I don't even remember who his running mate was.
Yeah, don't even make never mind. So here's Tim Kaine on asked his on gun control and marches, and here's how that went down. Whoops.
Tim Kaine of Virginia. He is a member of the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks so much for being with us on this Sunday.
Absolutely, Brianna. Good to be with you.
Democrats, of course, do not control Congress. Even when they have controlled Congress, passing legislation on guns has been difficult or even impossible.
Okay, just a little heads up. She is prefacing her question by confirming to him and to us, the viewer, but she doesn't know I'm watching. She knows that other Democrats...
Well, hardly anybody watches, unless you're in an airport.
Unless you're in an airport. She's confirming to him that Democrats don't control nothing.
Well, okay, we know that. I mean, that's just a simple fact, right?
Okay, well, this also leads into the bill later on, folks.
Okay.
The Democrats control nothing.
How do you explain that to these kids and to the 97% of Americans who support universal background checks?
Brianna, bluntly, the NRA leadership funded by gun manufacturers has basically been able to gridlock everything in Congress now for nearly decades. That's why Congress has not been willing to act, even to do things that an overwhelming majority of the American public want us to do. But the activism of these young people is actually changing the equation. Just the two things that we put into the budget bill the other night couldn't have been done had these youngsters not advocated for them, and they're not going away. And so this gives us a moment to finally do what the American public wants us to.
So underage high school students are dictating policy for the entire country right now.
You didn't know? I mean,
that's scary.
Were they dictating policy for the Democrat Party?
We just talked about how we elect representatives to act on our behalf. They're listening to children who are being told what to say and do and think right now. They don't know any better. If they were properly educated and they were told to think critically, they wouldn't be communists, and they won't be one day. That's another thing. That's another little secret that a lot of people don't know. Everybody thinks, every generation, you go back to any generation, go back as far as you want, they all think that conservatism is on its way out because it's nothing but old people. That's the old way. All these old people, they're all conservatives, they're all on their way back. Let's bring in the new, the progressives, the liberals. These young guys, they're going to take over the world because with their progressivism and their communism and all that. Guess what? It's like that every generation. Why is it that it's always the young people that are progressive and always the old people who are conservative? Because the young progressives become conservatives when they become more wise, more educated. And when I mean educated, I'm talking they got to self-educate. They're getting miseducated in school.
It's harder than it was for us. I mean, we had to self-educate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
if we tried to do this show,
it's worse now for them. It's much harder for them.
Imagine straight out of college us starting the show.
No,
it would have been a hot mess. It would have been a Democrat progressive show. I mean, maybe not so much for Brian.
Well, I'd have been a victim.
Yeah, Brian
I'd have been complaining.
Brian would have played the victocrat, and I would have been that live free. You know, I was more of a hippie.
No borders.
No borders. I was imagine John Lennon.
It's easy if you try.
That's right. I would have been right down that path.
Winston Churchill said, "If you're conservative and you're young, you have no heart, and if you're liberal and you're old, you have no brain." And
he may have been quoting Mark Twain. I don't know, because I think Mark Twain may have said that too. So they all said it. Look, it's a truism.
It's a fact.
It's going to happen for the rest of eternity, long after we're dead.
Yep. And so, sticking with it, did you hear about a guy named John Bolton? And I'm not talking about Michael Bolton.
Every time you hear Bolton,
oh my goodness! And I was gonna pull up that clip of him doing with Lonely Island, where he's doing the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Did you use? Oh, he was in that.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Yes.
I thought you were saying bring up that clip from Office Space where he called him an ass clown or something. Do you remember Office Space?
We called Michael Bolton.
Oh, the central theme of Office Space, which Brian, everybody listening right now is like, duh. Brian's like the only one that doesn't know. Is the guy's name?
That's right.
Was Michael Bolton. And so everybody's like, oh, you mean like the singer? And he's like,
one more time. Just one more person asked me that.
So he hated Michael Bolton because everybody marveled over the fact that his name was Michael Bolton. But anyway.
Right. So we've got a guy named John Bolton. John Bolton has got he's got the old school brush, the wooden brush mustache, the old school.
Oh, the pedo stash.
Well, no, but it shoots out. It's white and it shoots out kind of like a broom.
Oh, like a push broom.
Yeah, like a push broom mustache. Okay. And John Bolton this week, Donald Trump fires HR McMasters, who it was rumored that he was going to be fired. CNN, MSNBC going back and forth. Oh, there's rumors. We hear rumors, and they're not getting along, and Trump kept denying it, and McMasters denied it. Kellyanne Conway denied it. And so whatever, Sarah Huckabee denied it. And at last, the globalist that is HR McMasters was released of duty. It also comes, this is by Breitbart News, it also comes after someone, Carrie, had leaked to the press that the president congratulated Putin on his election win after a briefing card had included the note, "Do not congratulate," in all capital.
Well, that's just Trump sticking with his instincts, and I think he was right.
But how did the media know Trump congratulated him?
Was it a leak?
They're saying it was a leak.
Oh, boy. Somebody should get fired for that.
That was HR McMasters.
Goodbye.
Peace. You got to be with Trump or you're not with Trump.
He probably felt all upset inside, all bad.
Apparently, McMasters had been done this before.
He probably said, "Sir, Mr. President, I would highly discourage you from making a statement in any kind of a positive manner on Putin. We're getting hammered by the liars in media, and we can't have them continuing the lie about how you're best friends with him. So please don't say what you're supposed to say as the leader of the free freaking world."
Right. And if anybody, any consolation to anybody, Barack Obama did also congratulate Putin as well.
And that just goes to show you that
the hypocrisy knows no bounds. The hypocrisy knows no bounds.
I'm glad that Trump sent a strong message to the liberal MSM media, mainstream media, that you're not going to decide what I should and shouldn't do as president. What he should be one of the only presidents to not congratulate on whatever kind of election or selection process. You may not agree with it, but the fact of the matter is that Putin is going to be the president of Russia for the next X amount of years.
Well, probably for our lifetime.
And for you to say that he should go out of his way to not congratulate him in order to avoid the appearance that there might be some truth in the fake hoax of a story that there's collusion between Trump and Putin to get him elected, to get Trump elected, is just so beyond asinine. I am so glad Trump sent that message, that he's not taking that crap, and that's why it's just one of many, many reasons you can pile up on top of that pile of why he is a good president, because he's not taking that crap.
Right. No, absolutely. So that was leaked out just on the heels of McMasters being relieved of duty. Apparently, McMasters and Trump both agreed 100% that he should not be there. He wanted to go, and Trump wanted him gone. So it was a mutual agreement, and Trump tweeted out, "I am pleased to announce that, effective 4/9/18, Ambassador John Bolton," not confused,
Michael,
not confused with Michael, "will be my new national security advisor. I am very thankful for the service of General H.R. McMasters, who has done an outstanding job and will always remain my friend. There will be an official contact handover on 4/9. This was posted on March 22nd. So just 3 days ago, Trump posted that tweet up. I'm thrilled to have, I keep wanting to say John Bolton. I'm thrilled to have Michael Bolton.
No, it's John Bolton.
I did jack it up.
He said I almost said John Bolton. Michael Bolton.
I'm thrilled.
You're never going to say it right ever again.
No, I probably won't. I am thrilled.
Just call him Ass Clown.
I am thrilled with Bolton.
Okay, there you go.
To be the national advisor, and here's why I'm really happy about this, because we've got is that the wrong? No, that's the right one.
Okay.
Bolton. Kaine came out on this is part of that interview today on CNN. She asked him multiple questions. This was another question. She brought up, "Hey, what about Bolton? What do you think about that guy?" And Tim Kaine, apparently he was briefed on the question prior to him answering, because this was his answer, and this is how quickly he answered. And here it is.
Big news out of the White House. President Trump has appointed John Bolton as his new national security advisor. And last night, you tweeted, you questioned whether John Bolton can get his security clearance based on, quote, ties to Russian allies of Vladimir Putin.
This is key.
What are you referring
Listen to
to
this.
there?
John Bolton, I think, is a disastrous pick. First, letting HR McMaster go. General McMaster is an American patriot who speaks truth to power, and that's why Donald Trump didn't like him.
Okay. I'm done with people throwing out people's patriotism and serving in the military. There's a lot of people that ain't no good that are in the military. There's a lot of people that are good in the military. But to tell me that somebody's being removed from their position and saying that that's a bad thing because they were
that it's anti-veteran.
Yes, that they served the military.
Like I think that Tim Kaine has any kind of best interest of veterans at heart.
John Kerry was a
Swift
boat vet.
And he threw his medals over the fence at the White House.
So this is their narrative.
John Bolton, when he was nominated to be ambassador to the UN by a Republican president with a Republican-controlled Senate, he couldn't get confirmed because of real concerns about both his rhetoric but also about his track record of cooking intelligence to make it look other than it really was.
He's cooking. He's a chef. You didn't know that Bolton is a chef, and he likes to cook intelligence. I don't know what cooking intelligence is, but anyhow, so Tim Kaine going straight full board overboard and claiming that it was hard for him to get confirmed.
Well, if that's true.
Well, let me tell you, there are dozens. I think there's over 100 of Trump's picks that are still not confirmed. And we have the House and the Senate. So don't tell me that somebody not being confirmed or taking a long time to be confirmed, don't tell me that ain't political. It is 100% political.
Right.
But you question whether he'd be able to get a clearance.
I wonder about that.
She brought him back on point. She steered. It's like you're getting off topic.
He didn't ever answer the question. He totally went off the rails.
You're getting off topic. Come on
now,
back.
Listen to the way he words this. This is absolutely key to a point I want to make. So,
a report surfaced right after he was named about a speech that he gave in Russia in 2013 at the request of a Russian oligarch who's very close to Vladimir Putin. These kinds of contacts with foreign governments, especially in the words of General Dunford, who's the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Russia is the chief nation-state adversary of the United States. These kinds of contacts.
The chief nation-state adversary of the United States, right after pointing out that John Bolton went and did a speech in Russia for an oligarch in Russia is just a rich guy, wealthy guy. And
millionaire.
Yeah, so, and possibly even billionaire, depending on what industry they're in. But, as Putin being the president, or at the time, was he president at the time? If he wasn't at the time, going to be soon very high ranking, whatever. He's going to be friends with the wealthiest people. It's just the way it is in Russia. You got to understand, it used to be full-blown communist Soviet Union where nobody was allowed to have any money. So the people that ran industry were actual government officials who, once Soviet Union fell, the people that were running these industries took it over as private businesses, and now they're oligarchs. It does not mean, just because at one point they were part of the Soviet Union government, that somehow that they're communists, right? They're totally capitalist.
Well, see, if you approached Beyonce and asked her to sing a song or do something for you over here, well, you might be a communist Islamic sympathizer because she was friends with Obama.
Oh, there you go. I mean,
that's the roundabout logic here, folks. Come on.
Yeah, he's making a real big stretch here, just saying if you gave a speech in Russia. Now, he also, notice how he points out that Russia is considered the primary adversary of the United States. I'm just going to make my point right now. From here on out, it's clear to me that it's important it is the narrative, it is the task of the Democrats in America to make
the boogeyman,
make Russia, or declare Russia our chief adversary. And by the way, please explain why. And they never will, but they're just declaring it. They're just, hey, we're declaring that henceforth Russia is our chief adversary without any reason or cause whatsoever. And I believe that they're doing it so that, this is the reason, this is their real reason, so that they can retroactively call anybody who's done any dealings with them
Communist
suspect.
Yes.
Either
Yes.
suspect.
You're guilty.
Suspect of aiding and abetting the enemy, which they're only the enemy because they declared him an enemy. I'm convinced that they looked through and said, wow, there's a lot of business ties between Trump and a lot of his friends and family and whatnot, and Russians. It sounds to me like Trump was doing business with Russians in Russia. Is that a surprise? I would assume back in the 80s when Trump was making his rise to a billionaire,
well, when communism fell and opened up, why
when it
wouldn't
fell
you?
in 89, it was probably like, wow, let's look into this. And he probably did that. And now here we are all these years later where the Democrats have decided as a part of their strategy, it's imperative that we convince the public through our propaganda efforts to make Russia our chief adversaries in order to retroactively question every single ally in Trump's circle of friends, business associates, partners, and it's like, this is what's going on here, folks, and it is dangerous.
No, I don't think Russia's been our adversary for the majority of the 1900s.
Well, they were our allies in World War II, but I will admit,
we had to side with the
it was
the
reluctant.
best of the worst.
It was a reluctant. It was kind of like a let's befriend them for the time so we can defeat Nazis.
And Stalin absolutely loved Hitler.
Here's what's sad.
Embraced Hitler, and when Hitler broke the treaty, Stalin was thoroughly heartbroken.
Right. Is this ironic or what? We hated communism and we hated communists and we were worried about communism and how it might be a threat to America prior to the Cold War ever beginning. However, we were perfectly fine putting our differences aside to join forces with the communists in World War II in order to defeat the Nazis.
The fascists.
And yet, here we are, fast forward all these years later, and we have what it amounts to be, at worst, a benevolent dictator, I guess. I don't know. He's not. I don't know. He kills spies, apparently.
Right.
Or at least that's what we're being told.
Out of London.
But it's not like gulags and all this crazy stuff. It's not a communist nation. And yet, we can't put aside whatever differences that we can to join forces to defeat this threat of radical Islam, which is what Putin wants to do. Putin wants to ally with us to defeat Islam. It's a threat to him just as much as it is to us.
Yeah, we did it for World War II.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we have to be buddies and friends.
Right.
We could just work together to remove the most evil that is ISIS.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's hypocritical. It's strange. And I'm telling you right now, if somebody tells you that Russia is our enemy, you need to ask them why. If they say, well, look, they meddled in our election, I disagree. I think whatever they did was par for the course between countries. I think that we meddled in the Israeli election when
I know.
When
Obama used tax dollars.
Yeah, and I think he crossed a line when he starts to speak officially in his official capacity, which is taxpayer funds, which is our votes, voting for Obama to represent us as our president of the United States, to go over and tell the Israelis who to vote for, is problematic. That didn't happen with Russia at all. There's this really loose hodgepodge of evidence, very, very circumstantial evidence, no empirical evidence, but very circumstantial evidence that possibly some Kremlin-connected people may have taken some ads out on Facebook.
I thought you were going to say some Kremlin people took some acid.
No, ads out. Maybe I'm not enunciating properly.
No. Because I was like, oh, they were getting ready to do acid. Because it's crazy.
What's on
people.
your mind?
Because I'm thinking of these crazy trolls, these Russian bots, these Russian trolls.
Yeah, somebody pointed out, so does America in every election in the world. That was Kev's fun. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. It is the role of intelligence communities within governments across all countries in the world to try to gain intelligence or spy on. When you say, how do we get intelligence for the country? It's called spying.
Right.
So there's going to be spies for every nation. We do it. We hack into everything that we can in order to get intelligence from all countries in the entire world.
Oh, and apparently Obama listening to Angela Merkel's phone calls.
Yeah, so this is just par for the course. If you listen to our episode from back in December of 2016 called Russia, 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 this is exactly what I talked about. And I think it aged well. I think nothing really has been proven false in just about anything I said about Russia and the Russian story, the Russian narrative, and all that kind of stuff. My point is that I reject Tim Kaine's assessment or declaration that Russia is our chief adversary. He's only declaring that because by doing so, he can use it as a battering ram against every single person that Trump likes, including Trump himself.
Right, absolutely. So, guys, I ran across this. NPR had posted John Bolton's speech. You know that? NPR, National Public Radio.
Vanessa said she rejects Michael Bolton. Doesn't everybody?
No.
Doesn't.
No.
Do you like Michael Bolton?
No.
Oh, he did do Lonely Island. You should play that. It's probably full of cuss words, though.
Well, you can get the voice part of it. But, no, NPR, incoming White House National Security Advisor John Bolton recorded a video used by the Russian gun rights group, the Right to Bear Arms, in 2013.
Is the Right to Bear Arms an actual Russian group?
Connected with the Kremlin.
Somebody who immigrated from Russia has clicked like on Facebook, and that's connection. They're connected.
Well, did you hear Bolton? Did you hear Bolton's speech?
No.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the Russian people on the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the Russian Constitution. This document signaled a new era of freedom for the Russian people and created a new force for democracy in the world. While more time has passed since the United States created our own constitutional freedoms, we never forget the joyful optimism that marked the beginning of our democratic history. We wish our Russian friends that same hope and pray for you the strength to preserve these first precious freedoms.
I'm shocked at the speech.
Today, you're engaged in a historic debate about the possible expansion of your freedoms. Should the Russian people have the right to bear arms? I can share with you a word about what this particular freedom has meant to Americans and offer you encouragement as you consider embracing that freedom which so many nations and cultures.
I need to ask you when this was recorded because it's good stuff.
It's 2013. This is the Russian paid speech that Bolton.
So this wasn't just on behalf of America. This was paid for by
Russia,
an organization in Russia
connected to the Kremlin.
It was an organization in Russia
called the Right to Bear.
Oh, you're not playing the rest of it?
I will. It's called Russian Gun Rights Group, the Right to Bear Arms, in 2013.
Why is it that a group in Russia is Russia? I mean, does anybody think that Walmart is America or the NRA is America? Do people in Russia say America has done this, that, and the other thing because that's what we found on the NRA website that says that they did that? It's like, wait, what? It's an organization. Look, Russia is not. It's not a. I understand that Putin has a lot more power there than, let's say, Trump does or any president does in America. I get that. So it's a little bit closer to a dictatorship than anything we see in America, and I understand that. But you're not going to convince me that some group that happens to be in Russia is Russia. And by the way, do they have Second Amendment rights there?
They're working on it. They're working on their Second Amendment rights.
Is it being pushed by Putin?
No, it's by this gun rights activist group.
So if it's not even Putin or, let's say, the government itself, why is a group in Russia pushing for legislation that would give them the right to bear arms? Why is that called by Tim Kaine Russia? It's ridiculous.
Because they're in Russia, Carrie.
Oh, my God. I'm so done with this propaganda.
Carrie, but listen to what Bolton is saying.
Not Michael.
Found to be the essential defense for all other freedoms. Enshrined in the American Constitution is the right of our people to keep and bear arms.
True.
But even in America, like Russia today, this specific detail was not included in our original statement of rights and freedoms. So our founding fathers wisely added it in the Second Amendment, part of the Bill of Rights, to our Constitution at the time of the adoption of the entire document. This right has assured Americans of their freedom to engage in two critical acts of survival: the gathering of food and the protection of their families by all appropriate means. Our right to bear arms does not detail what types of arms those may be, an important point that allows for both the evolution of technology and the evolution of responses to threats not then or yet imagined.
Interesting.
This is why Tim Kaine loathes, absolutely just despises John Bolton. Because he's one of us. He's a good guy.
Our Second Amendment also implies a partnership between our citizens and our government. Our Second Amendment recognizes that while our Constitution provides for the national government to assume the responsibility for our national defense, it cannot always be everywhere present for the protection of individual citizens.
Amen.
By granting individuals the right to bear arms, our national government does not relinquish its responsibility for ensuring the safety of its people. Rather, it delegated a means of providing that safety to the citizens themselves.
Power to the people.
This partnership has endured for over 2 centuries to the benefit of the government and the governed.
There you go.
Were the Russian national government to grant a broader right to bear arms to its people, it would be creating a partnership with its citizens that would better allow for the protection of mothers, children, and families without in any way compromising the integrity of the Russian state. That is my wish and my advice to your great people as you celebrate your constitutional anniversary and exercise one of your many new freedoms by engaging in this debate today. Thank you for your time, and good luck on your journey into a new century of freedom.
Now, how is this a problem? How is what he said? Here's what he did.
He's talking to Russia.
He
was paid for by oligarchies.
Spreading the philosophy of America, the principles that make America what it is, to the world, and in particular, in this case, to Russia.
Right.
How on earth can Tim Kaine, in good conscience, say that speech somehow proves a diabolical connection? If anything, I mean, are we not allowed to advocate for American principles to Russia without being? He's trying to paint a picture of the opposite, that Putin is trying to influence America through Russian principles, and not so much the opposite, which is what we saw. You guys just listen. So the speech that Tim Kaine referenced, that he gave, that Michael Bolton, that John Bolton gave. You're gonna get me saying Michael Bolton for the rest of my life.
You wait, I got it for you, folks.
That John Bolton is saying he's actually saying it is the opposite. It's a lie. It's a complete lie to say that somehow there's some sort of an agreement. What, because money was exchanged? Did John Bolton get paid for this?
Yeah, by Russian oligarchies.
So the problem is that he's spreading American principles, values, and principles for money, which makes it somehow bad.
Well, no, it was an oligarchy.
Oh, gosh.
They love using that word.
If Putin is not advocating for the rights of his people to keep and bear arms, then this oligarch that paid John Bolton to do that is clearly not on the same page as Putin.
Clearly.
Nope, you know now, here on Smith Radio.
You heard it first.
So you going to maximize that and play it or no?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for you. How are you
Waiting
doing?
for you to play John Bolton. Michael Bolton. Michael Bolton. That's about the only entertaining thing he's ever made.
So now you know why.
Oh, Michael Bolton.
Now you know why I've been plagued with Bolton.
Oh, his voice is so awful. It's not his tone. He knows how. He obviously nails the note.
Highest of the high.
Well, he's got range. He could hit the notes. He nails the notes. That's all. But it's the way his voice sounds. It sounds so bad.
The island of Tortuga.
That's close. I don't know. It can't be much worse than Michael Bolton. But anyway.
Oh, so John Bolton not. And here's the thing. Here's what NPR is trying to spin with John Bolton. We're talking about John Bolton, new national security director for Donald Trump. And this is what the left is trying to do. This is what they came out this morning, did on CNN. And right now we have NPR, who said that John Bolton, not Michael Bolton, John Bolton recorded a video used by the Russian gun rights group, the Right to Bear Arms, in 2013.
Right.
To encourage the Russian government to loosen gun laws.
Right.
The episode, which has not been previously reported, illustrates the common cause that Russian and American gun rights groups were forming in the years leading up to 2016 election through former National Rifle Association President David Kaine. Kaine appointed Bolton to the NRA's International Affairs Committee in 2011. They are tying the NRA, John Bolton, Donald Trump, and Russian oligarchs to Putin.
But did you not realize that they didn't make a conclusion?
They're leaving it wide open for the Democrat Party to take care of that.
The connection between the gun rights groups, like what they didn't say why it's bad, other than that they're connected.
Oh, here's why it's bad, Kerry. Because that's where Donald Trump got his money through the NRA, laundered and funneled from Russian oligarchs into Trump's campaign. So Russia did pay for Trump and his campaign.
Or at least that's the narrative that they're
through the NRA. Absolutely. This isn't the first time this narrative has actually been brewing, and I've mentioned it before. It's been brewing in the background, and I'm just bringing it back because they're using it again because Stormy Daniels is not having a real effect, and because Russia collusion is obviously having a major fail effect. What would they say? CNN viewership is down 30% from this time last year.
If you would indulge me, I want to reread that same thing again. Incoming White House National Security Advisor John Bolton recorded a video used by the Russian gun rights group. You just heard the entire video.
It's pretty good.
It's great. It's basically trying to encourage the young new Russia to have the kind of rights that free people have.
Yeah, and the reason why we embrace the Second Amendment.
Right, so he made a video used by the Russian gun rights group, The Right to Bear Arms, in 2013 to encourage the Russian government to loosen gun laws. So he didn't encourage Russia. It was used to encourage Russia to loosen gun, but it was a group there in Russia that was trying to influence the Russian government to be more like America.
Did you hear what you just said? He was getting paid by a group that was influencing the government.
Okay. The episode, which has not been previously reported, illustrates the common cause that Russian American gun rights groups were forming in the years leading up to 2003. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So they plant the seed in you that an alliance needs to be made in order to, help Trump get elected. You know what I'm saying? But here's the problem. Here's what they're missing. If the Russian government is not on board with loosening up regulations on gun rights, if they even have much of that as it is, I'm not really.
I don't think they have.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think they have gun rights like we do.
I mean, I know they hunt and all that kind of stuff up there, just like any other people in rural areas. There's a lot of rural areas in Russia.
Yeah, Putin hunts wildebeest by riding bears with Obama on the back with a helmet.
With no shirt on.
With no shirt on. Dude, he never has a shirt on.
Right. Well, it's because he's buff.
Dude, he looks good.
We're going to get tagged as being a Russian radio station, right?
I have played RT video clips on this show.
Okay, so if the Russian government isn't also trying to get Second Amendment rights done, then they're not on board with Trump.
No.
That's the conclusion I'm getting here. My conclusion is, unless you can show me that Putin is also excited about giving his people full Second Amendment rights as per what John Bolton did in his video in 2013. I said John.
When you said in his video, I was thinking of Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, not that video, but the other one, where he was advocating for Second Amendment rights for Russia. If Putin isn't also on board with that, then my conclusion is that he wouldn't be all excited about getting Trump, or he wouldn't be working on some sort of an alliance. What alliance are we talking about here? If there was an alliance, then guess what? Second Amendment rights would be given to the people of Russia, and in doing so, they would be more like free America, or allegedly free. At least they are under conservative Republicans, libertarians, if you will.
But you see how they're attempting to destroy the NRA? Everything about the NRA to the Democrat Party is wrong and bad and evil. I wouldn't publish this.
If I was writing for this paper and they tasked me to I don't know.
We're not tagging Democrats as traitors. We're not saying that.
We're saying that they're liars.
Yes.
The conclusion that I'm drawing from this is that if you can't show me that Putin is actually excited about giving their country or their countrymen Second Amendment rights, then the conclusion is that Putin would be against Trump becoming president.
I would think so. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
But he wants.
I wouldn't publish this if in good conscience. Somebody that's just trying to get the truth out there. I would be angry that my editor used this to conclude that there's something bad.
Did you see the soundbite just before Tim Kaine running as VP for Hillary Clinton? Literally he painted this picture so bad and so rotten about this video.
Yeah, that's right.
John Bolton being paid by oligarchs.
That's dishonest. We just played it.
I had to scour the net. It wasn't that hard. It's on YouTube. I had to scour the net to find this. And when I hit play for the first time, what is wrong with these Democrats?
You had to have been like, wait, this is what Tim Kaine was talking about?
And then it was referenced in an NPR, because Tim Kaine also referenced NPR. It was in the NPR story, the video was. And NPR said this was the 2013 Russia collusion speech.
They're lying to you.
Yeah.
They're lying to you.
Okay. So we got a little bit of sanity here. We got Fox News. I'm not saying all Fox News is sanity, though. I'm not saying all. But I like these two. They're pretty good. Not the guy on the far left, but the guy, you'll see. This is on the...
by the way, I wanted to finish up this comment.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Somebody said it's anti-Americans to paint Democrats as traitors. All I said was that they're lying.
Right. And they do that often.
So I didn't do that. But also he said, and it's anti-American to paint former heads of KGB as pro-American heroes. They didn't give their citizens Second Amendment rights, which means the conclusion is that they're not pro-American. If they were pro-American, they would have given them Second Amendment rights, which if you don't applaud, if they did do that, they didn't, so you're not going to applaud them. But if you don't applaud that, you're anti-American. If a country decides, hey, we're going to embrace the Constitution of the American government, and we're going to take that on, and we're going to do it for our own country. If you're not applauding that, you're anti-American.
Yeah.
So your problem is that you're being dumb on my comment section. You're literally, it's Philly fanatic. You're being dumb on our comment section, and I will call you out for it. So stop being dumb on our comment section.
Goofy.
Anyway, so go ahead.
Here's Fox News talking about Russian collusion.
Accusation here is that a Russian oligarch claims that he donated money to the NRA in order to benefit the Trump campaign. Is there any evidence at all
I would
that this
say
happened?
No. Without even knowing?
No, actually not, according to the McClatchy article on which this is based that was actually published in January, which was actually based on this totally uncorroborated and, as far as we know, unsubstantiated testimony by Glenn Simpson, who happens to be the co-founder of Fusion GPS, who happened to fund the salacious and uncorroborated dossier on Trump, which also had Russian ties. So it all kind of comes full circle here, but this is just another example of certain members of the media running with a speculative story that is not based on fact. What we know is that the FBI actually hasn't said to the extent to which there has been any money transferred between Russia and the NRA. And like you said, the NRA has said that they have had no contact whatsoever with the FBI. Furthermore, McClatchy reported in March, just a few days ago, one of the attorneys for the NRA saying that she was concerned about Russian ties with the NRA. That attorney then said that she never said that, reached out to McClatchy about it. McClatchy ran with the story anyway. So this is kind of par for the course for fake news, unfortunately.
Fake news right there. So you heard it from, that was very well
delivered.
Yes, very well delivered.
I love her excitement, her enthusiasm.
Yep.
Nothing more awesome.
Yeah. No, she did a really good job of painting that picture. So anyway.
Island of Tortuga.
So no evidence exists.
Nope,
and that's all
not at all.
Know.
And earlier I teased you at the very beginning of the show, the FBI interviewed 70 witnesses in the Russian collusion connection. Out of all 70,
what, like half of them had hard evidence?
Out of all 70,
half of them?
Well, there is a zero in there.
So 0 of them did not have evidence.
0 had evidence.
What?
Out of 70.
Wait, but they had anecdotal stories and that were very incriminating, maybe? No. Nothing?
No.
But it's been a long time. Surely they've amassed evidence that can be pieced together to show that Russian collusion is not a hoax, right? That it's real?
No.
But it's been a long time.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
Somebody did mention something about Michael Bolton, but that was irrelevant.
Michael Bolton. Did he come in and break into song? Oh my goodness.
Oh my! So we got the Bill Clinton did. Bill Clinton did go to Moscow. For a Russian speech.
He should be under investigation right now.
For a Russian investment bank with links to the Kremlin. And at the time, Bill Clinton did give the speech $500,000 and was promoting Uranium One stock.
Oh gosh, this Uranium One thing has to be the most treasonous thing I've seen. And I know I've seen articles that say no, it's not as bad as you think, but it's got to be right up there with Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Got to be right there.
I would think it'd be pretty close to it.
Which, by the way, they were both executed by the electric chair for giving away our secrets to the Russians.
We're not advocating to do that to a former president, but what?
I'm not going to oppose it. I'm not gonna. If it happens, it happens. I just think that it'd be nice to be able to have a ruling so that from here on out, every American history book will shame them by pointing out what they did.
Right.
Simple as that.
And real quick, I had a clip of Jim Jordan, but I'm not going to play that. Jim Jordan had an interaction, this was in the past, with Jeff Sessions, and Jim Jordan got a little rough with him, and this was maybe about a year ago. We need a second counsel, the Clintons, this Russian collusion narrative. It's the Clintons, Uranium One, on and on. It was pretty. Jim Jordan got really rough with Sessions.
Jim Jordan's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sessions pushed back very firmly and said, I need more. Basically, Sessions said, I need more evidence.
Okay.
I need the right and proper. Jim Jordan then went on, here's your evidence. Bum, bum, bum. He's like, I need to go through the proper process. Well, folks, if you don't know this already, there is a second counsel. Jeff Sessions has a second counsel already in play. It has been in play for a while, and they're coming up with all kinds of stuff. Folks, within the next year to year and a half, I know it sounds like a forever long time, I'm sitting there with my son waiting for the internet to come up and the thing swirling for the TV.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he's like, "This taking forever." Nah, bruh. Let me tell you what forever is. Forever is waiting for Hillary Clinton to be imprisoned or prosecuted or having something to do with her ever since Benghazi. That, my friend, feels like forever. However, we may see that shortly. I don't think she's... People keep asking me, "You should go to prison." I don't think she'll ever go to prison. I don't think we should ever imprison the president. It's just not going to happen.
She's just the first lady.
Just first lady. I don't know. What a secretary. Senator.
Yeah.
Secretary of State. That's not going to be in prison. However, I absolutely believe that they should be banned and barred from having anything to do with a political party, a political action committee, or the government. So kick them out. They can't run or have anything to do with the Democrat Party or any other political party, and they can't be involved in a political action committee, and we need to shut down the Clinton cabal that is the Clinton Foundation.
Veritas Virtus says maybe the uranium one is being played because of all the senators that signed off on the deal.
Oh, very well, very well. And folks, if you don't know, this came out Tuesday. Peter Schweizer's brand new book, Secret Empires. Absolutely, I pre-ordered from Amazon. I got a heck of a deal.
Is that the one where he explains how you go in to
China?
Government service as a poor person, come out as a multimillionaire?
Sort of.
I know a book came out that was like... Yeah, he did Clinton Cash.
Yeah, no, the same guy did Clinton Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Schweizer, former, here's Secret Empires, How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Family and Friends. Former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, linked a billion-dollar deal with a subsidiary of the Chinese government, Bank of China, just 10 days after his father and son flew to China in 2013. Yeah, it gets even worse. The short of it all, the Chinese government was literally funding a business that it co-owned along with the sons of Joe Biden and John Kerry, John Kerry's stepson, whatever his name, Hines. And so... if you look right down the middle of the book...
I thought John Kerry just got rich by marrying...
No, this is John Kerry's son. John Kerry has to help his son get enriched to the tune of billions of dollars.
Okay.
And
without running the ketchup factory?
Correct. And in here, it's just an incredible treasure trove of information. There's a guy who pleaded guilty. Oh, this is also in the book, too. Part of Joe Biden... and John Kerry's subsidiary, whatever they got set up, they are tied to information and military plans for warships, planes, and stuff like that China now has a hold of through. I don't know, but there's a guy named Alan Ho. He pleaded guilty to sharing nuclear secrets with Chinese government. The FBI charged Ho and his company, China General Nuclear Power Company, with stealing secrets with military application. His company was owned in part by Hunter Biden and Chris Hines Investment Fund.
Well, isn't that a quinky-dink?
Secret Empires. An absolute must-buy, a must-get. It's not that expensive on Amazon.
I wonder if the audiobook's available. I'd pop in the earbuds and...
Oh, I would definitely. I would absolutely say
that's
so.
The one thing that's bad about audiobooks is sometimes because you actually physically have to have either the author or a voiceover guy to read the book.
Right.
It takes a while for that to get produced and then uploaded and then available to buy. Whereas the books have already been printed and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes there's a delay. So I have to check it out.
And it's amazing. Obama did his book.
He read it. Because he was nothing back then. He was like a student or something.
I know, but what's funny is that he read it exposing himself.
Right. He was pretty much right. Yeah. It was in his own words.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to wrap this up in a transition, you guys know our good friend here, communist
Van
Jones.
I don't know why you can never remember his name. I always have to remind you.
I keep thinking of Don Lemon, but Don Lemon's the cuck boy, the very delicate boy. He's Don Lemon.
Yeah, he's delicate.
Van Jones, an outspoken communist, had to actually leave the Obama administration because too hardcore communist, too outspoken. And this is Van Jones speaking about Russia and Stormy Daniels all at one time.
One of the things we noticed, Van, was CNN had an interview with another woman who alleged an affair with Donald Trump, with, of course, Karen McDougal on Thursday. Just before the interview, he announces his new national security advisor. It's going to be John Bolton to replace HR McMaster. Do you get a sense that this is a way to distract from this fight that he is engaged in?
She's asking Van Jones. Forgive me, they were talking about multiple women. And, matter of fact, Rush Limbaugh said that if you want to watch porn, turn on CNN because it's all day long. Nothing but salacious porn, the performers and all of it. That's all they're obsessed with. And she now is asking Van Jones, a wag the dog moment. Is Donald Trump firing McMasters and appointing John Bolton?
Not Michael Bolton.
No. To hide this female accuser. You mind losing my mind here? Is that a real question? Is that how this is going to go?
I don't know. It's bad either way. I mean, if he's picking Bolton because he wants to distract from the fact that his team got caught red-handed paying off a porn star, that's not that great.
His team got caught red-handed. No. Folks, this whole interview was all about this. And they're claiming, in this document with Stormy Daniels, she's under a retainer. Had been paid apparently $130 million or $130,000 under a retainer. The contract, there's 3 signatures on the back. One of her, one of the lawyer, and one of David Davidson. And they claim that that is Donald Trump's alias.
Well, they're saying that the paper that is holding, or the company that's holding the story, retainer, is friendly to Trump, and that it could be that they were holding it so that it doesn't hurt him in the election, right? But
David Davidson actually never signed the document, and Donald Trump's name is nowhere on the document either. So it's not even a legal document. According to the lawyer saying that you're in California, you can talk all you want. There is no retainer. And technically, the things that she's been saying violate the NDS anyways.
Okay.
If he's picking Bolton because he likes Bolton's ideas, that's even worse because Bolton is a warmonger, as best I can tell, and is not afraid of getting into a nuclear exchange or doing preemptive nuclear strikes in North Korea or Iran. So either way, picking Bolton is bad, and the reasoning behind it is bad. And, I'm very concerned. And also, I just have to say, liberals and progressives spend so much time freaking out about every tweet, everything that Donald Trump does. Every day is Armageddon. That then when somebody comes in who might bring us Armageddon, we're out of adjectives. I think Bolton is very dangerous, and I think we've exhausted ourselves on everything else. This is a very important development in our country.
So listen to Van Jones, folks. He just now screamed. He is frustrated with the liberal Democrat Party. He's frustrated because
they ran out of adjectives
and everybody's triggered.
John Bolton.
Right. Everybody in the liberal party is triggered. He just said it. You all in my party are triggered on a second's notice because of every single one of Trump's tweets.
So Van Jones kind of has a little bit of a grasp on what Trump might actually be doing as far as social media strategy, which it's funny. It's like they get played and led around on their little leash that Trump is leading them around on, and they just refuse. Either they refuse to accept what he's doing to them, or they just won't recognize it, and they fall for it every time. And Trump is very, very wise to use this to his advantage. And Van Jones is just beside himself and frustrated.
Just mad about it. Yeah.
I can see that.
And so last week, folks, Gary Cohen fired and replaced with Larry Kudlow. Larry Kudlow has accepted the job of the White House National Economic Council Director, replacing the globalist. Kudlow, if you don't know, he had a show, Kramer and Kudlow, on, I think it was MSNBC, and he was the capitalist versus the other guy, the socialist. And they interviewed that socialist, Kramer, about Kudlow. And the whole interview, he was like, I never met a tax cut Kudlow didn't like. And he was cracking on him and railing on him for being a capitalist, open market, free market capitalist, embracing America first. Larry Kudlow, folks, I cannot say this enough. When we talk about deregulation, we talk about the supply side economics. When we talk about these things about making America great again and tariffs and tax, folks, this is the absolute perfect picture. If you ever wanted a perfect storm of the greatest country that ever was and is and can be again, Donald Trump is putting in place right now John Bolton, Larry Kudlow. He's putting the people in place, removing these pieces that are not working and replacing them with pieces that do work. The thing is that the media, the political aspect and the political media, they've never seen a leader respond as a president, respond to individuals working for him and remove, you're out. You're out. This isn't working, you're out. I need to get somebody that will work. I need to get somebody that will work. This has to come together. If you're not working, you're out. In politics, people don't do that. It just doesn't happen. You leave the bad guy Eric Holder in until it gets so wretchedly awful. After 4 years, this lynch mob's looking for him because he's ruining everything. He's killing people. And then he puts somebody else in. It's just as bad. Anyway, so Larry Kudlow has accredited Art Laffer. If you don't know Art Laffer, please look him up. Art Laffer, the godfather of supply side economics, huge tax cuts, as being formative in his own economic views. Kudlow, in turn, became an economic guru to many Republicans and conservative tax cutters, including Jack Kemp and Rush Limbaugh. In addition to serving as a member of the Reagan economics team, Kudlow worked at Bear and Stearns until 1994. And then he had a show on MSNBC. So here's the thing, folks. These are absolutely the critical pieces to free market capitalism that will help this economy, help this country find its way back on course. Because you cannot find any single ideology. There's never been one single ideology in all of human existence that has raised more poor people out of poverty than capitalism.
Right.
There's been none. The poorest people here in America are the richest people in the world.
Yes, that is true. That's something that people kind of, I don't know, you get complacent and you don't appreciate the good fortune that you have for being born in this country. And yet they want to throw it all away by turning it into a socialist dystopia.
Right.
That always fails every time it's tried. And, yeah, that's what we end up getting.
I tell my kids often how lucky they are to have been born in America. This is truly the country that the shining city on the hill. This is, and we hear this from other people around the world that are watching America. If America falls, we've got no example, and two, we got nowhere to go.
We've interviewed multiple people like that. You've got Trevor Loudon was one of them who was like, "You guys can't fall."
No.
And also, I didn't interview her myself, but Carrie Kellerman interviewed a young woman from India who was really pushing for Trump during the campaign before he got elected, really pushing for American ideals and all this kind of stuff. And we were like, but okay, are you coming to America? And she said, no, I really feel that it's very possible I may never step foot on American soil in my entire life. She didn't have the means or all that stuff. And we were like, but then why are you doing this? Like, why are you pushing? People around the world, even if they never get to come to America, it's like that it's just an idea that they don't want to see die. That's really what it boils down to. They just don't. If America falls, then there's going to be massive depression around the world because that thing, that idea, that ideal that actually exists in the world right now will have been gone forever.
That's why when we go over to electric cars, we can't allow the American muscle cars of the 60s to disappear.
What about it? What if they pull the last drop of oil out of the ground and that's it? We have no more oil.
I have to invent something.
A muscle car.
We get a flux capacitor with 1.21 joule.
All right, I'll go with you on that. Back to 1985.
So as we talk about this whole show, folks, this is what we do here. We expose the fake news. We expose the communists, the socialists, the ones who want to subvert our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. And this is the biggest story of the week, the story that you may not know. This may be news to you folks, but this isn't what you think it is if you're listening to mainstream media. And this was Donald Trump just the other day.
Matter of national security, I've signed this Omnibus budget bill. There are a lot of things that I'm unhappy about in this bill.
He pissed.
There are a lot of things that we shouldn't have had in this bill, but we were, in a sense, forced. If we want to build our military, we were forced to have. But I say to Congress, I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again.
That's interesting, because when does that come up again?
Well, technically, I believe it comes up in late September, but I'm being told that nothing will be voted on or nothing will go through before the 2018 elections.
Yeah, you know how they like to kick the can down the road and ignore and blah, blah, blah. I hope that they have to make some sort of a real decision by then, so that way either the government shuts down or they actually have to put something together that must I'm sure that Trump is going to try to make it impossible for them to get away with just kicking the can down the road. Now, I learned a little bit of stuff about budgets and omnibus and all this. Come to find out, it's called omnibus because it's not a spending bill, and it's what they have to do in order to keep the government funded until they do come up with a real budget. And because of this, Trump has special leeway that he normally wouldn't have in a normal budget, and he didn't say a word about it until after the omnibus passed.
Did we read his tweet?
Oh, I got the whole entire statement from the White House.
Oh, you read that one, but here's his tweet.
Yeah,
because
give me
the tweet came out first, and also, by the way, CC at Christy Chat. You absolutely have to follow Christy Chat.
Am I following her?
You should be. CHRISTICHAT. Just type in CC. That's her name. Absolutely. She follows me, Smith Radio. I mean, why would you not? So she tweeted out about this, and she's so excited. I'm excited as well. But Donald Trump cryptically tweeted out, because of the $700 billion and the $716 billion gotten to rebuild our military, many jobs are created, and our military is rich. Building a great border wall with drugs, poison, and enemy combatants pouring into the country is all about national defense. Build wall through the letter M !
Through M?
M! Which I read that to believe the money. M is the money.
So military.
Through military. Sorry. Through the military, using the money.
That's probably what you said.
Through the military, using the money.
There.
I get sidetracked.
I feel like I'm reading QAnon or something like that.
No, but he's talking about using the military, clearly using the military, because the military is about national security, and the military doesn't have a budget for a wall.
Yeah, let's back up a second. When this first passed, and he first signed, before he even signed it, we were all like, you got to veto, veto, veto. You have to veto this. There's no way. Look at all the pork in this. Meanwhile, Rand Paul is frantically reading. Did you see those?
He did a 30-plus tweet, connected one after every time. He sat in his office.
Yeah, he was going through pages.
And he said, I'm at page 216.
It's a huge stack. And he's like trying to see over the top of it like this.
2,200 pages. Rand Paul going, he's like, I'm at 216, and I got 1,800 to go.
Oh, and he was tearing through it quick.
Yeah. Because
he got to like page 400 or 500, and I'm just like, wow. And then at one point, I think he ended up quitting. But before he did, he wrote down some devastating funding. It was just terrible. I would definitely try to find that Rand Paul tweet storm from him reading it. It was really one of them things that were screaming, veto, veto, you have to veto. And it was mainly because we knew it was just a bunch of waste, a big bunch of waste. So then Trump comes out and actually tweets, hey, I'm thinking about vetoing this. And we were all like, all right, we're right on the right track. Well, let's make sure we tell him to veto this. Veto, veto, veto. And then I don't know if it was before or after he finally signed it, which we all know now, he signed it. And there was this kind of initial reaction of extreme disappointment by a lot of people who are relatively, he found it.
Here's just a couple of things that Rand Paul tweeted out. He said $5 million for Vietnam Education Foundation grants.
And by the way, that's not Vietnam veterans.
No.
That's Vietnamese.
Yes.
Vietnamese people.
$2.5 million for Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe.
What?
$15 million to U.S. aid for promoting international higher education between universities.
Why? Why are we doing that?
Well, because the universities got to get their money. The universities are tied. This is the Democrat wet dream. This is what they love. $2.6 billion for international disaster assistance. $1 million for the Cultural Antiquities Task Force.
Why?
Someone got to get paid. $6.25 million for the Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation.
Oh, from here?
I thought he almost said it. I almost thought it too.
I thought it said prevention. Cultural prevention.
$20 million for countering foreign state propaganda. Well, he ain't doing a very good job at that.
That's terrible.
Give Smith Radio the $20 million budget. We will absolutely counter propaganda in America. And $12 million for $12 million for countering state disinformation and pressure.
What is that money going to go to when Democrats are in charge? I mean, they call truth fake news because it doesn't match the narrative. So this is what we were reading from Rand Paul prior to Trump signing it, and so we're all like freaking out and saying, you gotta veto this. So he doesn't veto this, and there's some people that came out and started speculating 4D chess, and then I finally saw the first portion, the first taste of how this could be 4D chess, and that was that the president has a lot more leeway with what to do with this money because it's not a budget, it's not a congressional budget, but rather an omnibus. What do you got?
I printed that off for you.
Okay, I got it in front of me too. So
whatever's best.
Yeah, I got it. It doesn't matter. I probably either way. So apparently, what Trump could actually do is declare the border wall a necessity for, and then maybe even an emergency for national security, in which case he would have access to the Army Corps of Engineers. And by the way, that's what the huge military spending could be used for.
And this omnibus said in there, cannot use any of the prototype walls that you went and looked at.
Okay.
Which would be great to use the Army Corps of Engineers.
There you go.
Because they could come up with it.
Yeah, so they just build a 40-foot with actually a double wall. I was talking about this. Guys, listen, let's think outside the box. I'm trained engineer, so I can figure this stuff out. They were talking about the need to be able to see through the wall because you wouldn't want to have a wall and not be able to see what somebody's doing right on the other side.
Right.
Well, the Great Wall of China isn't clear.
No, it is not see-through at all.
So how do they see on the other side?
Turrets and castle
they
towers.
They have a freaking huge, giant walkway on top of it. The wall is so thick that it has this huge walkway on top of it.
Right.
You could look right over the other side. That's what needs to happen. You need to have some sort of a wall where there's some sort of a walkway. I would be for, even though it costs an enormous amount of money, I would be for having it so massive that you could actually have a road on top of it with 2 lanes of traffic going either way that the Border Patrol would use. I'd love to see that the Border Patrol could jump in some sort of vehicle. It doesn't have to be like a truck. It could be like a...
It could be on tracks. It could be on tracks. It could be on electric rail, and it could go super fast.
Wow, that would be a good idea. Or it could be, just for a little bit more freedom of movement, maybe make it just big enough for like souped-up golf carts or like, something like that.
Land Rovers.
Land Rovers. So you're talking a full-blown vehicle.
Yeah, like a Hummer.
I was thinking
a Hummer.
a two-way street so Hummers could go. How about 18-wheelers? Let's do 18.
Oh, yeah, because you got to get supplies.
Yeah, you got to get the supplies. All right, or rail, whatever. How about a walkway with rail?
Oh, Democrats, call them up. Hey, we got a light rail project.
Okay, all right, and a bike trail. A bike trail and a light rail. We got this. They will fund this thing to the hill.
It's funded already. I just got the call. They said the money's in the bag.
Shell 68 said, bullet train, keep in mind, the transporting on top of the wall would only be for Border Patrol, right?
Right.
It would only need to be for Border Patrol.
Well, you could pick up an alien trying to break the border, throw them in that bullet train, and send them back. Bullet bag.
So, yeah. Somebody said, didn't Hitler declare everything a national security necessity? We're talking about a wall.
Man,
We're talking about a wall.
You just go right into a bridge of butt. Oh,
that's Godwin. You got to use Godwin's law on that one. You can't go straight to Hitler just to prove a point. So
no, and the only reason why I went to Hitler is because he did with the Utes.
The
Democrat Party is doing with the Utes.
No, saying that declaring everything a national emergency is what Hitler did is too broad. We're talking specifically about a border wall to keep bad guys out. Now, the wall that Stalin built was a wall to keep people from escaping him, the Berlin Wall.
Right.
So it's important to use your brain to make distinctions. But so anyway, so the Army Corps of Engineers.
So Trump, not Trump, the White House put this out on their .gov website.
Yeah, and this is
an
important.
Official document.
This is really important because prior to this coming out, I just took it all as speculation. Somebody says, "Oh yeah, they used the Army Corps of Engineers." Yeah, but if he's not saying it himself,
I don't believe it.
I have to chalk it up to speculation. I have to. So then somebody actually posted this and said that this is what Trump said to Speaker Ryan. And I said, don't believe it. Got to see it. And then they gave me the link to whitehouse.gov, and I said, I'll be damned. So
this is...
I was amazed. So this
Trump is absolutely... This goes down the way it goes down. Trump is a genius.
So this is the letter from the whitehouse.gov saying it's from President Trump to Speaker Ryan.
I'm gonna follow along with you.
Dear Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Section 7058D of the Division K of the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2018, HR 1625, the, quote, Act, I hereby designate as an emergency requirement all funding so designated by Congress in the Act pursuant to Section 215B2A of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985, Ronald Reagan. For the accounts referenced in Section 75D, the details of this action are set forth in the disclosed memorandum from the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, sincerely, Donald J. Trump. What does all that mean?
Peace out. Peace out. Well, John Salisbury at 5 Strauss. 5 Strat. S-T-R-A-T. John Salisbury at 5 Strat. His comment, his tweet right after posting this up, he said, this is basically, for those of you in Southern California, this is basically...
Is that how they say it?
Yes!
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
My wife's listening right now. She's probably laughing.
Basically?
Basically.
So basically...
A letter to Congress telling them that under the Balanced Budget and Emergencies Deficit Control Act of 1985, POTUS is going to move the appropriations around as he sees fit. No money for Planned Parenthood, no DACA funds, Trump equals 4D chess, MAGA, POTUS.
There you go.
Stick a fork in it. Stick a fork right in it.
For all of you Trump skeptics that doubted that 4D chess was anything that he was remotely playing. And by the way, I've even speculated the Texas sharpshooter theory.
Yeah.
Where Trump just does whatever, or something happens to Trump, whatever it may be, and then all of his little minions run around and paint bullseyes on whatever happens and says, look, he's a genius. Look how good of, in Texas sharpshooter language, look how good of a shot he is.
I'm saying that right now. I'm saying he's genius.
Oh, he is a genius.
I'm saying he's genius.
But are you saying 4D chess is real, or are you saying it's all Texas sharpshooter?
Nah, 4D chess is real.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to. It seems to me that he looked this over and said, so wait a minute. You mean I can totally destroy everything that they're trying to do and then do what I'm told I can't do with this budget bill? And they were like, yes.
Okay, which means...
And so he said, I'm signing it. That's it.
What he did when he oh damn it, I lost the clip. When he gave his talk, when he went to the microphone, I'm gonna tell you, it was a little uncanny the way he spoke, the way that he said, never again.
Well, I think he was setting up for September. He wants to put it on record now that you're not going to be able to get away with loading everything up with pork in September, I think.
Right, but I don't know. I've got this feeling that when he said this and the way he did it, it seemed odd. Like, listen to it. It's only 26 seconds long. Just listen to it.
As a matter of national security, I've signed this Omnibus budget bill. There are a lot of things that I'm unhappy about.
Dude, he's mad.
In this bill. There are a lot of things that we shouldn't have had in this bill, but we were, in a sense, forced. If we want to build our military, we were forced to have. But I say to Congress, I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again.
Okay. Yeah, the first thing I said, that's kind of exactly what he just confirmed here. As soon as he signed it and I heard about the military spending necessity, that basically Congress came to him with an offer he couldn't refuse.
Right.
And that's basically like, hey, listen, I know you're not going to like how much we're spending, and I know you're not going to like what we're spending all this waste on, but we're giving you everything you want, so you better take it because this is your only chance to get it.
That, and I think that he has put people around him finally that Trump, hey, did you know man, let me tell you about something. We could do this and work it. Look, let me give you some info. Because I don't know. I don't know if Trump knows these things already. That's genius to a whole nother level.
Well, some really, really clever lawyer came up to him and said, listen, let's just play this out. Let's do a thought experiment. Let's just say you pass this thing. Are you aware that you're allowed to do this and things that you're told you're not allowed to do because of the way this is being written through an omnibus instead of a regular budget, that you can do all this? And he was like, really? And he was like, absolutely. Look, he lists it right here, Section 75D of Division K of the Consolidated Appropriations Act, and also the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985. These things would have been presented to him. And when they wrote this on WhiteHouse.gov, they just referenced it and said, try me. Go look it up.
Trump's like, how far can we go with this, guys?
Yeah, they're going all the way.
Let's find out how far. If they want to play this, folks, this is real. What is going on right now is real.
He's calling it an emergency to control the deficit. And it's an act that's in play right now, and he's invoking it, and checkmate, you're done. Checkmate in one move.
We've got the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. They are in this together,
right? It's a uniparty
against us,
right? And Trump is like, you know what? Let's use it against them. That's what he did. He used it against them. He's smarter than them. Not one single congressman said, now, wait a minute, before we do this, you do realize...
Oh, he don't know.
Have you guys read...
Yeah, but see, Trump don't know that.
Section 70... What do you mean Trump don't?
That's what they're saying to each other. Oh, he's too dumb.
No, I don't think they knew. I don't think anybody in Congress today was like, whoa, guys.
1985.
Before we send this to Trump to sign, you do realize he can invoke Section 7058D of Division K of the Consolidated Appropriations Act in conjunction with Section 251B2A of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985. Guys, you better think about this.
This happened in 1985, guys. We saw it go down. They had the flux capacitor, 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, we just talked about 1985. We're going back. Muscle cars and petroleum.
Yes!
All the way.
Leaded fuel, folks. Leaded fuel.
I don't know if they had leaded fuel in 85.
No. I was buying it. I had that 68 Cougar, and in 1991 is when it finally went out in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Oh, of course.
I would drive a long way away just to fill that car up with leaded fuel, the last bit that I'd seen down Lawrenceburg.
There was a... I don't know what I was watching, but it was kind of a history of oil or whatever, and they talked about all the leaded fuel that was used during the early, I guess the first half of the 20th century. And then they figured out that lead also causes all kinds of birth defects and
it's poison.
learning disabilities in young children. And they tested everywhere, and all the fuel that we were burning that had lead in it, there was like a thin layer of lead across all of America.
Oops. Well, that mixed with a little bit of asbestos, because that's what they used to make brake pads out of.
Well, I don't know what your dad ever told you about his childhood, but my dad said that one of the things that him and all of his friends would do would be to melt down lead, because lead has a very low melting point.
Right. It doesn't take
low
much
melting.
Heat.
Like one single candle can melt lead. And they would melt lead, and they would pour it into a form to make lead soldiers.
I think you could have bought that kit at the store.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what they sold at the toy store. They would sell bars of lead.
And kids would
you could bite into it.
Because it tasted sweet.
Was there a sweet taste?
Yeah.
Did you eat lead as a child?
No. Not that I know.
Did you grow up near power lines? Oh, wow. Somebody posted, yummy.
I'm with you. Whoever that is, I'm with you.
Oh, man.
But no, they also made brake pads out of asbestos.
Wow.
Go figure. So, and we've all lived through that, and we're moving forward, making America great again. Folks, this is a clip of the great, the only Judge Jeanine, who I personally met, and she let me take a picture with her. She was so gracious, so kind. She was so irritated. She's super irritated.
I can't believe that you... See, when I see... Before you do... I want to do real quick. I was walking for probably 200-300 feet through a casino directly behind Joe Pesci. Directly. Like, I was with my wife. We were holding hands. We were on our honeymoon. And he was with his young granddaughter and a friend of his that may have been security, I don't know. Or maybe just a friend of his that was really big and buff. And that was just them three. And we were walking right behind him, and we knew it was him. And I went that entire distance all the way out to the front where he had a car that he was waiting on. And we waited while he was waiting. And I just said, you know what? He's having a moment with his granddaughter. I just can't do it. But you're saying you could tell that Judge Jeanine was irritated, and you were just like, I got this.
Well, here's the
he did the same thing with Kellyanne Conway too.
She was totally cool though.
Oh,
Kellyanne was totally cool,
but she was getting blown up by some other people too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was getting piled. It was a mess. But Judge Jeanine was all the way back in the back at CPAC, and she was on a platform. She was by herself, alone. There were cameras and crew back there, but she was kind of pretty much.
But you had access.
Well, I walked to the back to the platform, and just before I got there, this homeless shift pops his head up and gets right in front of me and Judge Jeanine. And she's up on the platform. And he's making a nuisance of himself to get her attention.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, homeless shift. Go away, man.
What's a shift?
You know how
I know there's a congressman shift.
You know, pencil neck geek. You know how what do they call it? It's like fancy. It's cool to look homeless.
Oh, that's not hillbilly chic. There's homeless chic.
Homeless chic.
Is it homeless chic?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what homeless chic.
Okay.
Is a homeless shift. You're trying to be homeless, but maybe you're not. You might live with your parents and you're pretending you're in college and you just,
like you don't wash your hair and you use the excuse I'm culturally appropriating dreadlocks.
You wear pajamas to school, to class because.
Oh, some of the girls. When I went to college in the early 2000s, girls would show up to class in men's boxers.
Yeah.
With the button in the front.
Not Umbros. Real boxers.
The button. With the button in the front. It was distracting. A little distracting.
Extremely. So anyways, Judge Jeanine was totally cool. She said, all right, guys. So she came down off the platform. She climbed down. She really is 5 foot.
So she didn't really care that homeless chic man was really going to.
Well, she was trying to push him off. She's trying to push him off. Like, no.
But she recognized that you were being respectful and nice and civilized.
And she looked over at me, and I did the hashtag #MeToo.
But not in that way.
No, not in that way.
A different kind of Me Too.
Right. So we walked around the back.
Like we're both celebrities, you know.
Right. We walked around the back, and she, I took the picture, whatever, and she was very nice about it. She said, does it look good? Look at it. Make sure it's right. Make sure you got it good. It's real nice about it.
Wow.
Cool lady.
That's cool.
So this is a little bit of a lengthy clip, but I've got to play this because this sums up for those of you who are getting away from Ann Coulter's train of thought. Mm-hmm. For those of you who are looking for what the hell happened, I know Brian talked about this, I know Carrie talked about this, but maybe Judge Jeanine, she can put it into a different light, and she does. She's fireballing this. She puts it in a little bit of different perspective, but it's the same thing that we've been talking about, and this is what she had to say about the entire Omnibus.
The omnibus bill that Republicans gave President Trump yesterday is a total betrayal of him and those who elected him. It was as though they left him without arms to swim in a sea of sharks, risking our health and safety. Now, I told you a long time ago that the establishment was anti-Trump. Remember how panicked they were when it looked like he would actually win the nomination? The party elders petrified because he was beholden to no one. And in spite of their backslapping and glad handling, they just proved that they still are. Once he was elected, the establishment's mission was to make sure that he did not succeed.
Yeah. Candidate
Donald Trump ran on a promise to build a border wall. And in 2017, January, Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell promised to build that wall with $15 billion. The bill they presented had only $1.6 billion, short more than $13 billion. And they specifically precluded the use of that money for the wall prototypes the president looked at in California.
Hilarious.
Now, this betrayal should be no surprise. Ryan and McConnell never cared about his succeeding. 2 months after he was elected, Ryan failed to deliver votes on the health care bill, the one that he had 7 years to work on,
right?
The one that Ryan hid under lock and key in the basement of Congress, the one they pulled because of the embarrassment of not having enough votes to pass it when they had the House, the Senate, and the Oval.
How does that happen?
So why did the president sign this bill?
We looked at a veto. I looked very seriously at the veto. I was thinking about doing the veto, but because of the incredible gains that we've been able to make for the military, that overrode any of our thinking.
The first order of government is the protection of its citizens. This bill included $700 billion to shore up the military, so destroyed, devalued, and diminished by Barack Obama. As Obama took the Army down to World War II levels, North Korea was launching ICBMs with nuclear war tips, threatening Guam, Hawaii, and all Americans. Meanwhile, Iran spinning centrifuges, allegedly for nuclear medicine, while at the same time threatening the extermination of both Israel and America. And Russia, now in possession of 20% of our uranium, thanks to Bubba and his wife, continuing to build their nuclear arsenal. So faced with this triad, the president chose to put our defense in the strongest position to protect us and to protect our service members. Our arsenal will now include the stealth F-35 bombers that literally are invisible to the enemy. You know, any leader's success is based upon the ability to take action and get results. It's what Trump does. It's what he did with deregulation. It's what he did by removing the individual mandate in the tax reform bill. Yep. It's what he just did with bump stocks. These guys funded the sanctuary cities, the ones that protect illegal criminals, risking the life and safety of American citizens like Kate Steinle. Sanctuary cities where federal and local law enforcement are pitted against each other. And they funded Planned Parenthood that performs more than 300,000 abortions a year at a cost of $500 million a year.
It's insane.
Congress prefers rogue cities where illegal criminals are protected and Americans at risk. Congress prefers no border wall so illegals can cross bringing poisonous drugs that take the lives of over 1,000 Americans a week. That's what I said, 1,000 Americans a week. And while we pay for border walls for those in Tunisia and Libya, Americans will suffer a plague of drug overdoses from illegal drugs that come into this country from Mexico. 90% of the heroin used in this country comes through the southern border. And although we are only 5% of the world's population, we use 80% of its opioids, with a potency 50 times that of heroin and 100 times that of morphine. The one the establishment is not willing to build a wall to stop. The one that the Congress is killing more than 1,000 of us a week by not building the wall. Opioids and illegal drugs coming from Mexico. Folks, these are double-talking, two-faced politicians who care only about themselves, lobbyists, their contributions, and the next election.
True.
So here we are, Democrats crowing that they've funded sanctuary cities, Planned Parenthood, and only $1.6 billion for a see-through wall while they kept out DACA, which the president was willing to give them so that Democrats can use it against him in the upcoming election. Folks, I want to be real clear. This is not on President Trump. This is on the leadership of the Republican Party, the very people this president should be able to count on. In truth, the president is surrounded by inept, incompetent warriors, and this bill is a reflection of just that, total betrayal by the Senate and House leadership. How dare these Republicans play politics with our lives and the lives of our children with all this namby-pamby nonsense about their security border. The president and the people who voted for him have been betrayed by Speaker Paul Ryan and Leader Mitch McConnell. And the people in Kentucky and Wisconsin need to make sure that these guys are defeated in the next election so this president can carry on the agenda that we elected him to do.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So she puts the blame squarely on Congress, which that's obvious. There's no way. Even people that
it went through the House with Mitch McConnell like that. Like that.
Oh, McConnell's in the Senate.
Oh, the Senate. I'm sorry. Paul Ryan.
Speaker Ryan, yeah.
Speaker Ryan like that. Mitch McConnell like that. They pushed this through like that. And like she was saying about Obamacare, they just shut it down because they didn't have no votes for it.
Oh, look at your time.
I know. We're getting close. Any last thoughts, Carrie?
No, I think even if you're worried that Trump signed that, which you got to look into the Trojan horse that he realized it was, that he can do what he wants to do with it. This is always going to be on the Republicans as far as organizing as well as the Democrats do. How can we if we're relying on the RNC to do it?
They ain't. They don't want to do it.
We don't want to. Nobody wants to donate to the RNC because of this.
People ask me who do you donate to, Brian? I say go to Donald Trump's website.
DonaldJTrump.com. We were told on Twitter that all donations to the website directly, 100% of it goes to Donald Trump's campaign. 100% of it. And also you can donate to us at patreon.com/SmithRadio. We would love, right there on the screen. We would love for you to become a Patreon of ours and help support us do what we do here. And thank you guys for coming, even Philly Fanatic.
I love it. Even we can have a debate about different ideologies, and hopefully we'll
with unfathomable power.
See you guys. Peace out.
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.